Chapter 1. Time travel for wedding. Feeling dizzy, with her mind blurring, Xianxia, who was lying in bed, heard the knock on the door. Then came the voice of a middle-aged woman, who sounded nervous as she asked, "Duan, what happened just now? Is something wrong?" "I am fine, Mom. It was just that I hit the chair accidentally." The woman instantly got nervous. "What? Are you hurt?" "No, I am fine." "You must be very tired today from everything. Go and sleep now." "All right, but you should sleep earlier too." It was quiet outside the door, but Xianxia was thinking inwardly. Damn, what is a man doing inside her room? She opened her eyes suddenly. The moment she looked up, she met a pair of cold-looking eyes staring down at her. She gasped and then started to cough loudly, with hands covering her mouth. She glanced at the room, which was full of red decoration as well as the sticker of double happiness. It was a room meant for a wedding night. You. Xianxia sat up quickly and shrunk herself to the corner of the bed, glaring at the man with her eyes widened. "Stay away from me." The man sneered slightly and snapped at her with gritted teeth. "You mad woman. You are totally unbelievable. You didn't have to marry me if you didn't want to. But for my sharp discovery, my bride would have hung herself on the wedding night. That would ruin my future, and my family's too." Xianxia was dumbfounded and eventually saw the hanging white scarf dangling over the beam. The whole scene looked quite scary, especially when the background in the room was in full red. Below the white scarf was a chair that had been upturned. It must have been this cheap husband of hers who came to save her, when a strange sound arose, causing his mother to come over and check what was going on. Suddenly, Xianxia felt dizzy and turned pale, as the memory of the original host emerged inside her mind, stirring crazily inside her head. Boxen OVL. The original host wasn't born lowly, compared to this husband's family which was only a farming household. Instead, she was the miss of the county magistrate's family, daughter of a concubine. This daughter of a concubine had been engaged to someone when she was young. That was when her mother was still alive. Her fiancé turned out to be an excellent man, who passed the imperial examination and was ranked third. He even got the chance to practice to become the county magistrate in a neighboring county. Theoretically speaking, the two families should have held the wedding in utter happiness. But Mrs. Dong, the lineal wife of the family, disliked Xiaoxian's birth mother. So she stopped Xiaoxian from marrying an excellent and promising man like that. Therefore, she abducted Xiaoxian by luring her to visit the temple, and got someone to push her into the water. However, this plan, which should have been done secretively, did not work out. Xiaoxian was saved by Shao Yunduan from Shaoding village, namely this bridegroom standing in front of her. Since the two of them had some skin-to-skin interaction, a wedding had to be hosted just to keep the girl's reputation as pure and innocent. That made Mrs. Dong extremely cheerful. What a wonderful end it turned out to be. On one hand, she did not have to be burdened with the possibility of killing one person, and on the other hand, Xiaoxian was able to marry a farmer's family where she was going to suffer throughout her whole life, having no chance of turning the table of her own destiny. Therefore, Mrs. Dong informed her husband about this, and swiftly ordered the engagement of Xiaoxian to be broken off. Later, she got Xiaoxian to marry the Shao family within no time. Xiaoxian, who was feeling furious and sad, lost all her hope. When she was under heavy guard and monitoring, she could do nothing about her life, but she still held some hope. But when she got married this time, she secretly lifted the red veil over her head and saw this shabby-looking, dungeon-like place. She suddenly felt coldness casting over her body. Feeling that she had no future to look forward to, she decided to hang herself in extreme despair. However, Shao Yunduan came and saved her right on time. But, actually speaking, the original host was already dead. It was a new Xiaoxian when she woke up again, a time traveler. Chapter 2. No divorced Xiaoxian could not help but feel sorry for Shao Yunduan, who looked furious as he sat on the chair with his hands on his knees, and a straight back. Honestly, it was a misfortune for any family, when their daughter-in-law decided to hang herself on wedding night. If the bride really died, the whole family would turn into a laughingstock in front of numerous households, and would be looked down upon by everyone around. Anyone would get very angry and get furious. But that was not her business. Xiaoxian was groaning inwardly. What a shitty business she found herself in. Shao Yunduan, who looked seriously annoyed, said coldly, "If you don't want to marry me, fine. I will send you home early tomorrow morning. Don't worry, I will tell the county magistrate that it is we, the Shao family, who don't deserve you. I will mention that clearly on our divorce paper, so you won't be blamed in any way. The couple had already exchanged the dowries and gifts, and done the wedding proceedings. In the modern world, it basically meant that the two of them had already got legally married at the civil affairs office. Although one night had passed and nothing happened, Xianxia would either divorce on her own or get divorced by this man. Startled, Xianxia shook her head. No, no. I will stay. She must not leave. If she was divorced by the husband the following day after the wedding, she would never be rid of the fact that she had been rejected by her husband, no matter how well written the divorce paper was. Also, maybe her selfish and ruthless father would not accept her to the family either, claiming that no one from the Chao family would ever be divorced. After all, she was married off and basically given to her husband's family. She believed that Mrs. Dong and her father would definitely do something like that. When that moment came, her future would be nothing. Even if there was the slightest possibility that her horrible father and Mrs. Dong decided to accept her, would she be able to live a good life? Would she have a completely new life ahead of herself? It would not be a matter of whether there would be a whole new life, but whether she would even have a life. Boxen OVL. COM however, if she stayed with the Shao family, the situation might be a little more promising. She was the daughter of the county magistrate, which was nothing in her own family, but could become her protection talisman in her husband's family. As long as she made full use of her family background, she would definitely have a good life here. Also, this husband of hers had a pair of broad shoulders and narrow waist, giving out an excellent air. His nose bridge was tall and he had a very sharp silhouette on his face. His eyes seemed sparkling as well. Well, he was very handsome in her eyes, and she was not in a disadvantageous position either. This husband of hers was a student at Minghua College in the county, and he had passed the imperial examination as the cultivated talent at this young age, so probably, he was going to become some recommended man, or even an advanced scholar in the future. That would make her life even more promising. Besides, she could decide things later, looking at what happened in the future. At the moment, it was obvious that she should stay with her husband's family so that her life could be better. Hence, she was not leaving. When the decision was made, Xianxia struck her own thigh and squeezed out some tears from her eyes, remembering that she had time-traveled to such a terrible situation. Tearfully, she looked at Yunduan and sobbed. It was my mistake a moment ago to have done such a stupid thing. Now I have realized what is more important for me, so don't worry, I will never do that again. Hee hee. Yunduan sneered as if the ice in his eyes had been scattered. You are the miss of a noble family, but we are just a poor family in the countryside. I should not deserve you, so I won't blame you for making that mistake. If you don't like this arrangement, you truly don't have to bear it. I will tell Officer Chow that it was all my fault, and in a couple of years, when you move away with Officer Chow when he gets transferred to somewhere else, no one will know about our wedding. By that time, you can find your own Mr. Right. That sounds perfect, doesn't it, second miss? Yunduan had not been very happy about this marital arrangement either. But what else could he possibly do about it all this while? He jumped into the water to save someone, when he saw it happen in front of his eyes. He had not expected the consequences of it at the time. Moreover, he had thought that he could tolerate this second miss of the Chao family by treating her well. But he had not expected that she would rather kill herself on their wedding day, just because she disliked his family. That irritated Yunduan completely. On the other side, Xianxia was also complaining heavily inside her head. The original host had left her in such trouble. But she was not going to get divorced, never. Chapter 3. Promise No. Xianxia started to act unreasonably. I am not leaving. Anyway, it was my fault for what I did. I apologize for that. If you are not okay with it, just tell me what you want me to do. Hee hee. Yunduan still sneered. Xianxia tried harder. We have gotten married today, so if we get divorced tomorrow, our two families would be laughingstocks in front of everyone. You have to think for your whole family, if not for yourself. Yunduan got so annoyed by her shameless words. He said ironically, Thank you for your concern about my family. Oh well, you don't have to say that. I mean, we have to think about the best method to deal with the situation, don't we? Divorce isn't the best solution, obviously. That, of course, was crystal clear to Yunduan. Even though he himself wasn't so interested in this marriage, yet everyone in and outside the village, his family and friends, either his acquaintances or strangers, were all jealous of him when they learned this news. Everyone was saying that the Shao family had gotten lucky. Moreover, it was being said that because of luck, a poor man like Shao Yunduan was able to become the son-in-law of the county magistrate. Therefore, he himself could not imagine how many snickers he would receive if they were divorced the next morning after the wedding. Well, it was his bad luck that brought him to this situation. Xiao Xian was observing the man who wasn't looking that cheerful, but at least, he did not seem to look as determined as he had been about divorce a while ago. Feeling slightly relieved, she begged in a soft voice by making a secondary proposal. What about we do it like this? You accept me for the time being, but in a couple of years we get divorced on the right occasion. Shao Yunduan. Shao Yunduan was confused. He asked with a low voice and eyebrows raised. Is that what you are truly thinking? It would not be the best time for you after a couple of years. Xiao Xian did not care much and said casually, I will only be 17 or 18 years old in a couple of years. What should I be worried about anyway? Boxen OVL. COM Shao Yunduan. That was a very confident claim. Shao Yunduan had no idea how to counter those words. All right then, if that's what she wanted, he would have no objection. If you want to stay at my place, then you will have to behave like the daughter-in-law of the Shao family and do what a daughter-in-law should do. You should never be impolite to my parents or my siblings. Also, we are a poor family and have no servants to serve you. So, you have to do everything yourself. Our food is simple and ordinary, mostly to keep away hunger, that's all. You have to know about all of these. Xiao Xian replied without thinking. Sure, I understand it all. Shao Yunduan was still sneering inside his heart. She understood it all? She must be joking, no. He did not think that she understood anything. But it was the only way to deal with the situation right now, and that was what they had to accept. Well, what about the future? Suddenly, Shao Yunduan had some anxious thoughts crossing his head. Well, he had to stop thinking about the future at this moment. Besides, he was going to get this spoiled girl out of the Shao family after 1 or 2 difficult years anyway. During the upcoming years, it would already be enough for him, as long as she did not cause any trouble and lived obediently with him. It was a quiet night. The following morning, Shao Yunduan woke up Xiao Xian by shaking her. She drowsily opened her eyes and saw Shao Yunduan standing by the bedside, looking properly dressed. He said as he saw her waking up, Time to get up now. Xiao Xian let out a small sound, blinked her eyes, yawned and then nodded slightly. Okay, getting up now. No daughter-in-law of any family should sleep in, she was well aware of this point. Actually, when the original host was residing at her own home, she was a pitiful little girl who was forced to get up earlier than the morning roosters. Only she understood how miserable her life was. After all, she had been a very ordinary girl in the modern society in her previous life. But even if that was the case, she had never gotten up so early. She was a newly wedded woman, who was supposed to serve tea to the elderly people in the family, and had to address them differently henceforth. After she washed herself up, Xiao Xian went for the meeting with the Shao family, officially. Chapter 4. First day of wedding. The Shao family's old master had 3 children. Shao Yunduan was not born as the eldest one. His grandparents had already passed away, and old master Shao as well as his 3 brothers were already separated from the family. Shao Yunduan's father was called Shao Dakuan, and his mother was addressed as Ms. Fong. His elder brother was called Shao Yunlian, the eldest son amongst all the siblings. Shao Yunlian's wife was called Ms. Su and they had a boy and a girl together. Shao Yunlian's son, namely Shao Yunduan's nephew, was called Shao Junyan. He was 6 years old and his niece Shao Qing was only 3 years old. Shao Yunduan had named both his nephew and niece, which pleased the children's parents completely. They believed that their children's names sounded better than those of other children in the village. Also, if the children were named by a person who could read, then it would mean a good beginning, which might bring in more auspiciousness. Shao Yunguang was the second brother, and he was yet to get married. But the reason why Shao Yunduan, who ranked the 5th in the family, got married first was only because he saved Xiao Xian, who fell into the water, and that basically hastened the wedding to take place, to keep the girl's reputation clean. Shao Yunhui was the 4th brother, ranking the 7th in all the siblings. He had a twin sister called Shao Tao Tao, who was only 13 years old this year. The old master's second child was called Shao De Lu, and his wife was addressed as Ms. Niu. They had 2 sons and 1 girl together, namely Shao Yunshan, who ranked second among all the siblings, and Shao Yunqiao, who ranked fourth. Shao Yunshan married Ms. Zhang and they had 1 son and daughter together, namely Shao Wan and Shao Xianwen. Shao Yunqiao was not yet married and he was seeking a proper suitor at the moment. Their daughter Shao Meiling was only 15 years old this year. Shao Dashi, who was the old master's third child, married a woman called Ms. Ma. Their eldest daughter, Shao Meiji, was already married whilst the younger daughter Shao Xiaoji was just 3 months younger than Shao Tao Tao. Boxen OVL. COM their son Shao Yunjiang was 15 years old, ranking 6th among all the siblings. He was yet to get married and was studying in the county. At this moment, Xiao Xian only got to meet the eldest family, whilst the second and third families would arrive by evening for a family reunion dinner, when they would all meet. Xiao Xian bore everyone present in mind. Luckily for her, not many people were there yet. The Shao family were very curious and nervous about this well-born daughter-in-law of theirs, and they looked quite ashamed too. Her in-laws looked as if they were trying hard to press down their anxiety. Xiao Xian greeted them politely and said with a smile, "Dad, Mom." That put the burden off their shoulders totally. Good. This daughter-in-law had a nice temper. Shao Yunduan, who knew what Xiao Xian was like in the past, let out a sigh of relief as well. This woman was not going to make a fuss here, and was even behaving better than he had anticipated. Had she really thought everything through? There were not so many complicated rules in farmers' families, so all was done after the daughter-in-law served the tea and met each of the family members. Ms. Fong, her mother-in-law, passed on some auspicious and encouraging words, before everyone was dismissed and went down to their own business. Xiao Xian thought for a while and followed Ms. Fong directly. In this era, it was very important to get a good impression from the mother-in-law. As long as the mother-in-law stood by the daughter-in-law's side, she would have a firm status at home. Otherwise, there would be endless trouble and problems coming on to her unexpectedly. The Shao family were sizing her up on the sly when she served them tea. So did she. Moreover, she paid extra attention to her mother-in-law, who was the key. As far as Xiao Xian could tell, her mother-in-law was generally a nice woman, which made it much easier for her to carry out her own plan. "Mom." Xiao Xian caught up with Ms. Fong, showing a nice smile and looking rather obedient. "Please, tell me what I should do, and teach me if I am not familiar with anything." "Oh." Ms. Fong smiled brightly and looked at Xiao Xian with a friendly gaze. "It is okay. Just take good care of your husband, so that he can concentrate on studies. You don't have to worry about family affairs." She was the daughter of the county magistrate. It was absolutely normal for her to stay away from housework, which was taken care of by someone else in the family. It did not have to be her concern. Miss Fong was already very happy when she saw her behaving so obediently. She was not going to make her do any housework. Xiao Xian was very surprised, but started to chuckle inwardly. It was a smart decision of hers to have made such a move. She insisted on showing how willing she was to learn to do housework, which pleased Ms. Fong, who became increasingly glad and turned even more determined to let her take a rest instead. Xiao Xian, who failed to persuade Ms. Fong, gave up eventually. Chapter 5. The wood superpower. Xiao Xian was wandering about in the yard where she planned to confirm one thing. There was a loquat tree planted on the side of the yard. The fruits on the tree, which were still quite green, were starting to turn yellow. They were hanging on the branches. It seemed that the fruits would become ripe and tasty enough in a dozen days. She walked forward and stretched out her hands. She put her palms on the trunk of the tree that was more than 30 centimeters thick, gathering her concentration on it. Slowly, the whole tree started to turn greener, as the twigs grew wildly and leaves opened up. For a moment, the fruits on the tree started to turn yellow and ripe, one bunch after another. Xiao Xian withdrew her hands instantly, seeing that the effect was far better than she had expected. The moment she withdrew her hands, the unusual growth of the tree stopped all of a sudden as well. She looked down at her hands, feeling extremely glad. She had felt something weird the night before, when she wasn't in a clear state of mind. In the morning when she was washing herself, she found that the moment she touched the water, a kind of sensational feeling appeared instantly, and within a few moments, some peculiar information emerged and filled up her head. Only at that moment did she become sure that she had obtained a wood-like superpower. Wood generated water, so the superpower would become exceptionally strong when she touched water. Xianxia, who felt as if she had received a new kind of toy, planned to have a try. At this moment, she saw a bunch of mint leaves which seemed very thin. So she squatted and reached out to the bunch with a slight touch. That small touch of hers did not cause any changes upon the mint. But when she concentrated and tried to gather a stream of spiritual power into the plant, and had the mint placed in the center of her mind, the bunch started to grow instantly. She withdrew her hands and was completely sure about her abilities. She closed her eyes and tried to enjoy her superpower. This ability of hers was not only able to give a boost to plants, but also sensed all kinds of moves around her through the plants, since the roots of those plants were interconnected with each other, underground. Boxin OVL. COM for example, at this moment, when she lightly touched one bunch of mint, she instantly got a clear knowledge of all the grass and woods in the yard, even about the ants in each corner, as if everything was moving right under her eyes. Therefore, she believed that she was going to have an easy time catching the animals and birds in the mountains. Also, she could see that the range of her super powerful senses could expand further, as the power became stronger. That pleased Xianxia thoroughly. What was more, that superpower had given her an extra space, which was completely barren at the moment and had not opened the access to her. But she knew clearly that there would be one day, when she became qualified enough to enter that place and could make good use of it. But the qualifications which she needed for it were not clearly known to her. Still, she was sure that it was related to her superpower as well. What she could sense right now was that there seemed to be an extremely advanced system connected in space, through which she was able to find all knowledge related to plants. Motivated, Xianxia was more certain that she was not going to have a boring life from this moment on. She had a lot to explore, like this superpower of hers. At around 9 or so, the breakfast was ready for the family. After she finished the tea-serving step, her father-in-law, the elder and second brother as well as Shao Yunduan, all went to the village to work as laborers. At this moment, they just returned home. It was the spring season, the best season for farming. Hence, all farmers were very busy with farming. It was a bit cool in the morning, which was the best time for work. All hard-working families would get up early to do some work on farmland to start the day with. What surprised Xianxia was that Shao Yunduan went down to the farmland and did labor work as well. Wasn't he a man who only read books? Suddenly, she had a nice impression of this man. He seemed like a good person. Chapter 6. A surprise scene soon after breakfast. The family found that the loquats in the yard had ripened. And the mint, which had just been planted a couple of days earlier, was now flourishing vividly too. They all spoke highly of this magical scene and held a heated discussion among themselves. But no one was able to draw a conclusion of why that happened, so they all agreed to believe that it was because this patch of land was in a rich environment. Maybe the water and the soil had turned better, causing the loquats to ripen faster, and for mints to flourish more wildly. Xianxia had a smile on her face, feeling very proud. These were her achievements. Shao Yunhui, the seventh brother of the whole family, was nicknamed Little Seven. He was physically agile and loved to explore the woods and valleys whenever he had time. Therefore, he always brought back home some wild roosters, birds and rabbits for the family to eat. When he saw the yellow loquats, he could not help but climb onto the tree quickly and picked a large bucket of the fruits for the family to eat. The loquats seemed to taste sweeter and have more tender flesh than those in the past year. Shao Yunguang spoke in a praising tone, as he grabbed an armful of them. Ms. Fong glared at him. You are talking nonsense. You don't even remember how they tasted last year. Shao Taotao smiled and said, Mom, I am not sure if other people might remember, but I am sure that third brother should definitely remember the taste. He loves all sorts of fruits, he must be right about it. Shao Yunguang really loved food. He was a very persistent foodie, who would even hold the hive tightly in his arms and run for as far as one whole mountain, even when he was chased by wild bees after he tried to get the delicious honey. That experience of his made him the object of laughter in the whole village for half a month. Hearing what Shao Taotao said, everyone could not help but laugh. When they were done with tasting loquats, they went down and continued with the labor work. Ms. Fong stopped Shao Yunduan and glared at him. Where are you going? Your father and your elder brother and third brother can do the labor work, but you will have to keep your wife company, okay? She has just become part of our family. Don't give her the cold shoulder. Then Ms. Fong turned to Chao Xian with a sweet smile. Miss Chao, your husband is a very nice person, but he is a little bit careless. Men are always like that, right? If you are unhappy about anything he does or says, just tell me, and I will seek justice for your sake. Chao Xian smiled brightly. Mom, my husband is a good person and he is very careful too. Don't worry, I won't be unhappy. It is my fortune to have met such a nice husband and mother-in-law. Well, she knew pretty well how to behave at this moment. A mother could criticize her own son, but she as the wife could not say anything bad about him. Boxen OVL. Chao Xian suddenly felt that she was making a smart move. Sure enough, Ms. Fong smiled even more brightly after hearing her exaggerated praises. She chuckled. You are such a nice girl. It is our fortune to have you as the daughter-in-law, and Yunduan's fortune too, ha ha ha. I feel so honored to have been praised by you, mother-in-law. No, it is all because you are a nice child. I will definitely learn from you and become a good daughter-in-law for the Shao family. Okay. Ha 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 ha. Shao Yunduan. He was totally dumbfounded hearing how well the two women were getting on with each other. He wondered what position he was at the moment. He even suspected that he had misunderstood what he had just heard. What on earth was going on? His mother was not very satisfied with his brother's wife actually, and had been complaining about her, who seemed quiet but was actually really selfish and full of tricks inside her head. She even did not like the neighboring village girl, whom his third brother had laid eyes on. She complained that such a dull boy should not have teamed up with an even more dull girl, if they wanted to have a smooth life. More importantly, that girl was parentless and had a greedy brother and sister-in-law who seemed to be extremely annoying and insatiable. But why was his mother behaving like this, when it came to his wife? Chapter 7. Your company to me. Shao Yunduan, who had turned completely stunned and messy in his head, came back to himself after a slight push from his mother and uttered a very confused sound. What? Ms. Fong glared at him, seemingly displeased by how slow his reaction was. Then she gave him a look and said, What are you staring at? Go and keep your wife company. Shao Yunduan moved his lips. What more could he say? Okay, Mom. Saying yes was the only thing he could do right now. Ms. Fong then turned to Chao Xian and consoled her with a smile, before leaving in satisfaction. She had met numerous people in her life, and was very sure about her own judgment of her daughter-in-law. The girl was a pure, open and straightforward person, who was born in a noble family but had no arrogance in her. She did not look down at the Shao family, and respected her mother-in-law completely. Ms. Fong had all the reason to show more care towards her. Also, her son was a man with a gloomy personality, who was really suitable for an open and easygoing girl like her. What a great match written in destiny. Shao Yunduan looked at Chao Xian, and complications arose in his eyes and heart. You are really capable of making my mom happy. Chao Xian showed a modest smile. Thank you for your compliment. Shao Yunduan's words got stuck in his mouth. I am not praising you, okay? Don't thank me. Boxen OVL. Chao Xian almost felt like bursting into laughter, seeing how he looked so wronged and speechless. She could not help but feel like teasing him. Oh well, Mom told you to keep me company. How do you plan to do that? Shao Yunduan was actually a well-mannered man who barely threw temper at people. But for some reason, he truly got annoyed whenever this woman started to talk. When he saw her blinking and waiting for him to give a reply, Shao Yunduan answered stiffly. Any way you like. Chao Xian tilted her head and thought for a while. What about teaching me to write? I am not very good at holding the brush pen, and you have to correct me one step after another, okay? What she meant was that he could stand behind her back, hold her hands in a flirtatious and nice way. When Chao Xian said the words, Shao Yunduan subconsciously had this image in his head. His eyes widened in astonishment. You! So shameless! Chao Xian covered her mouth and chuckled merrily so much so that the man in front of her got really angry and his face was distorted. She waved her hands and said with a smile, I am just joking with you. Don't be so serious. I am going to sort through my dowries. You don't have to keep me company. You can do whatever you want. Bye. Shao Yunduan. Shao Yunduan was so angry as he saw the woman leaving from there. He could not help but feel his heated ears. He mumbled to himself through gritted teeth and left in irritation. He was sure that the girl did not change, but had her mind undergone a transformation after experiencing death once? It was indeed an enormous change, after all. Could she have decided to open up herself, since she was already stuck in a bad marital situation? Shao Yunduan could not help but let out an emotional sigh. Women's mood is just like the weather of June, so fickle and changeable. Chao Xian had 26 sets of dowries, which were transported into the Shao family the day before, causing much jealousy among neighbors and friends. Normally, village girls had at most 6 or 8 sets of dowries when they got married, and even fewer families were able to offer 12 or 16 sets. People kept saying that the Shao family were getting lucky because of the moralities which their ancestors had accumulated. Their newly wedded daughter-in-law had so many dowries that were really enough for the whole family to live on for one lifetime. Chao Xian rolled her eyes and sneered. Those dowries were just numbers on the surface. All the 26 sets contained low-quality things. For example, according to the notes of Dowry notebook, there should be 1 pair of treasured vases, which, however, turned out to be a pair of very cheap porcelain vases wrapped in large boxes and was still counted as 1 dowry piece. Chapter 8. Dowries. Another example was the clothes. Those garments for seasons were either cheesecloth or hemp cloth. There was not even a set of ordinary silk, let alone the newly launched brocade. Moreover, those cheap things were all put in large boxes and counted as 4 sets of dowries. As for money in the bottom of boxes, it took Chao Xian ages to dig out those few sporadic coins. Well, as the saying went, a starving camel is still bigger than a horse. Even though the dowries were not that abundant, they were still better than that of village girls. But those things, when compared to the real daughters of county magistrate, were simply an insult and humiliation. But for Chao Xian, she believed that these things were enough for her life for now. Even this small amount was already a large sum for the farmer families. So, Madame Chiao might have humiliated or heavily stricken the original host of the body, but for her, it was nothing. Compared to being completely poor, she was happy that she was able to get these to start with. She could just earn money if she needed it. She was going to strike them back in the future. That should be extremely relaxing for her. When she was done sorting through the dowries, Chao Xian generously handed out the cloth to her mother-in-law and Ms. Su, the elder brother's wife. She gave the clothes to the family for making dresses. For the farmers' families, such garments were already treasure, though they were not so valuable in her eyes. Both Ms. Fong and Ms. Su were startled in disbelief. Ms. Fong was hesitant. She desired those things, but was worried that others would spread the rumor that she was stealing her daughter-in-law's dowries. Honestly, when the dowries were transported to her family the day before, she had heard many sour words from the other members in the family, who kept sneering and could not hide their jealousy. Boxen OVL. Com Chao Xian smiled with bright eyes, seeing their reaction. It is a small gift, Mom. You shouldn't consider me as an outsider, now I am your daughter-in-law, otherwise I would feel so unassured about myself. We are a family, aren't we? We should stick together, right? Ms. Fong laughed and accepted the gifts, then she added. Dowries are the supporters of a daughter-in-law, and you should keep them instead of wasting them. We have a long life to share together. Chao Xian felt warmth attacking her heart. She was truly moved somehow. She nodded and smiled. Thank you, Mom. Then, she took out 2 flourishing-looking silk flowers and gave them to Shao Tao Tao and Shao Qing respectively. In her eyes, these silk flowers were roughly made. Yet they still cost as much 25 won for 1 pair, which was a huge expense for rural families. Ms. Su was very glad and expressed her thankfulness on behalf of Shao Qing. Shao Tao Tao liked the flowers too, and said thank you with a reddened face, before putting the flowers on head. All women present spoke highly of how she looked. Chao Xian felt a bit guilty after she gave out the garments and silk flowers, since she did have a selfish purpose. So, she made more effort in trying to give compliments, which led to a happy laughter among all the women. She was actually testing how her mother-in-law, brother's wife and husband's sister were like, when she gave out so many gifts. If any of them was greedy, she would know. But none of them were so. Even though Ms. Su might seem to have some selfish thoughts, she still believed that her thoughts were reasonable. At this moment, Chao Xian felt totally assured. What she did not know, however, was that it was Ms. Zu's turn to feel guilty. The moment Chao Xian became part of the family, Ms. Su had been put into shadow. So she had been feeling really annoyed by how she behaved. When she saw how Xianxia tried to please their mother-in-law, she had been cursing her as shameless inside her head. But Xianxia turned out to be so generous that she gave her so many garments, 2 of which were thick enough to be made into cotton coats in winter. She even gave Shao Qing such a beautiful silk flower. So, she suddenly felt that she should not have cursed her and thought of her as someone shameless. Chapter 9. Bad intention. Her sister-in-law was so generous and the husband was now the cultivated talent. He was surely going to become better and bring more honor to the family. No, he was not a selfish and cold-hearted man. She decided to treat the couple well, so she could have a better future with them too. Before her sister-in-law came to the family, she was the one who did all the housework. So there was no need to be sour about this. After all, she was the daughter of the county magistrate. As Ms. Su thought everything through, she even fastened her steps on the way to wash clothes by the riverside. However, on the way there, she ran into Ms. Niu. She greeted her and said, "Hey, sister-in-law." "Oh, hi." Ms. Niu had been really sour about the newly wedded bride the day before, and when she saw the sets of dowries carried into the house, she became so jealous that she hardly slept during the night. Therefore, when Ms. Niu ran into Ms. Su at the moment, her eyes brightened and she decided to pick on this woman in front of her. "Are you on the way to wash the clothes?" Ms. Niu sized up Ms. Su and smiled. "Honestly, you should teach some things to the newly wedded sister-in-law. You should bring her along with you for the housework." Ms. Su was startled for a moment and then replied with a smile. "I don't think she has any clothes to wash today. I will ask her tomorrow." Ms. Niu replied. "She doesn't have any clothes to wash? But she can help you, can't she? Oh my God, look at these many clothes. Are all of them to be washed by you alone? You were doing the housework all by yourself in the past, but now you have a helper, who should share your burden, right? Doesn't your mother-in-law say anything? It is such an unfair move for you. You are just too conventional. You are her elder sister-in-law, and also the senior member of the family. Now Ms. Chao is married to our family, so no matter which family she comes from, she should still respect you. Well, I think that she is looking down on you. You should build an image for yourself and tame her. Otherwise, she will act over the top and cause you trouble. You won't like it. Trust me, you are too honest and you will be bullied. I care for you, that is why I am reminding you." Ms. Niu was in the middle of her happy talk, when suddenly a loud voice arose from behind. "What are you talking about?" Ms. Niu and Ms. Su were both startled, as they turned around and saw Ms. Fong coming their way. Ms. Su was surprised and was about to give an explanation. "Mom, I... Boxen OVL. COM, stand aside." Ms. Fong snorted as she threw a cold glance at Ms. Su. She sneered at Ms. Niu. "What are you sharing with my daughter-in-law? How about repeating it in front of me, so I can also learn something from you to see what mistakes I have made, which you are trying to teach my daughter-in-law?" Ms. Su flushed, not knowing what to do. Ms. Niu panicked but soon calmed down, thinking that her sister-in-law was talking louder and looking excited. Could it be because they got the daughter of the county magistrate as the daughter-in-law? The thought made her feel even more sour. As jealousy arose into her head, Ms. Niu felt even more envious and she responded with a strange smile. "Look at you, it seems as if you are interrogating me. People might think that I have made a mistake. You are now the county magistrate's in-laws, and you have suddenly become very arrogant. You don't even think of me as part of your family anymore, do you? Stop spreading your nonsense." Ms. Fong snapped at her and cursed heavily. "I know you are just jealous. I heard those disgusting words you said yesterday, but it was a happy and auspicious wedding scene where friends and families were all around, so I decided not to argue with you at the time. Does that make you feel as if nothing was heard by me? Yes, I am arrogant, so what? You can be arrogant too if you can afford it. If you can't, just shut up." Ms. Niu's face flushed out of anger. "You." Chapter 10. Mother-in-law's anger. What? Ms. Fong was never a loser in arguments. She had her hands over her waist and snapped at Ms. Niu. "I don't need you to teach my daughter-in-law. Only stupid people would listen to your advice instead of mine. Just save your breath. You can teach your own daughter-in-law if you have the time. I heard that your daughter-in-law again sneaked food to her mother's family a couple of days ago, didn't she? Oh God, What a nice daughter she is, right? On the other hand, I am really lucky to have gotten such a wonderful daughter-in-law. Ms. Niu shivered out of anger. Her eyes widened and her face turned green. Her eldest son's wife, Ms. Zhang, had always favored her own family. She had been sneaking things from the Shao family to her own family ever since she got married, to show filial piety to her own parents. At first Ms. Niu and her husband knew nothing about it. They both assumed that the family must have been robbed somehow, which caused a great deal of laughter among fellow villagers. When they knew that it was Ms. Zhang's deeds, they became extremely annoyed. But Ms. Zhang, whenever he was caught, begged them for forgiveness with tears in her eyes. Yet not long after, she started to make the same mistake again. However, she was a lucky mother who had given birth to one daughter and one son, whilst the other son of the family had not yet found a suitor. With one son and one daughter as the leverage, Ms. Niu and her husband would not be able to divorce Ms. Zhang easily. Also, if they were going to find another daughter-in-law for their son, it would cost more money too. Therefore, Ms. Niu tried to find ways to deal with Ms. Zhang every single day. While one of them tried to find a way to hide the things, the other spared no effort to steal the stuff. There was always chaos happening in their house. Ms. Zhang was a strange woman too. If she failed to steal something for a long while, she would simply pull out the carrots and cabbages from the yard and deliver them to her mother's home. When Ms. Fong mentioned this point, Ms. Niu was stabbed deeply in her heart and lungs. Seeing that she got so angry that she could not utter a sound, Ms. Fong snorted arrogantly and glared back at Ms. Su. "What are you standing here for, huh?" Ms. Su, who had seen her mother-in-law throwing temper in such a way, got so frightened that she almost collapsed. "What?" she answered anxiously. "Okay, Mom. I will go and wash clothes now. Yes, now. Box and OVL. COM." With that, Ms. Su dashed off. Although her mother-in-law had never set up traps for her or scolded her unreasonably, for some reason, Ms. Su was very scared of her mother-in-law. When mother-in-law was wearing a serious look on her face, Ms. Su would dare to utter no sound. Ms. Niu regained her breath and shivered. "You don't be so happy this early. You never know what your new daughter-in-law is like. You may have gotten one who can do nothing but wants to be spoiled all the time. That would be a big joke for your family." Ms. Fong would have been worried about this before the wedding, but now, she was not concerned about this matter. She sneered ironically. "All right then, I am waiting for you to laugh at me if you can." Having said the words, she ignored Ms. Niu and walked away. Ms. Niu let out a cry of anger. "Damn, this Ms. Fong is such a witch. What is she so proud of? As long as our brother defends us, she will have no place in the family. Our brother is the head of the family, not her." Only now did she realize that she did not have to argue with Ms. Fong. There was simply no need. Ms. Niu was thinking about having a discussion with her husband and her sister-in-law, Ms. Ma, about how to find a good match for her son and daughter. They needed money to start to prepare the gift. Since Ms. Fong had Ms. Xiao as the daughter-in-law, she would need to help them prepare some gifts too, right? Her brother had always been very generous to his siblings. As she thought about this, Ms. Niu started to get really happy and decided to turn to Ms. Ma for a conversation. Chapter 11. Kindness. Maybe. Xianxia was completely unaware of how her mother-in-law had thrown her temper. She herself had not finished sorting her dowries yet, and was entangled in this errand again. However, when they were having lunch, Xianxia noticed that there was some strange expression on her sister-in-law's face, especially when she was facing mother-in-law. She was trying to avoid her eyes. That made her feel quite surprised. She was wondering if there was anything that happened between mother-in-law and sister-in-law when she had not been around. But she was not going to ask them about the matter, after all. Therefore, she just pretended as if she hadn't noticed anything, and still spoke with her mother-in-law and sister-in-law with a smile. Thanks to her conversation with both of them, Ms. Fong and Ms. Su suddenly seemed to have gotten out of the awkward air, for some reason. Ms. Su could not help but feel more assured. Ms. Fong, however, was still wearing a cold look. Yet inside her heart, she started to like Xianxia more and more, thinking that it had been the correct decision to have gotten a daughter-in-law like this. As for Ms. Su, she was a person with a heavy heart, and loved to split hairs. She tended to turn a deaf ear to any kind of persuasion. In the past, she would have shared some of her thoughts, but after years of living here, she was not bothered to say anything like that anymore. Her husband was honest and devoted to his parents, And Miss Sue, despite her heavy mind, was never bold enough to cause any fuss. Well, it would always be better if the atmosphere at home could be more bustling. Farmers' families attached more importance to breakfast and dinner. When they were well fed at breakfast, they could go out and do labor work with more strength. After they were done with a day's work, they would treat themselves a better dinner. As for lunch, that was the meal they would eat least properly. At lunch today, the dishes were porridge with red beans, properly dense, served with a few pickles. It was enough for them. After 2 meals, Yunduan found that Xianxia did not show any disdain towards the food served at home. And it seemed that Xianxia had not even shown any disdain towards anything at home either. Honestly speaking, Yunduan was very surprised by this behavior of hers, and suddenly, he felt somehow guilty. He had not thought that she would be this good. He started to believe that he must have misjudged her somehow. Boxen OVL. Since she was behaving so cooperatively, he was wondering if he should offer some kindness? After all, she was a newcomer to the Shao family, and might feel a bit restrained and unaccustomed to the surroundings. However, Yunduan did not feel like making the offer first. After all, Xian had annoyed him badly first. He was in the middle of his confused thoughts, absently staring at Xian for a long while before he realized that. Xian spotted his stare and chuckled. Then she approached him and said in a low voice, smilingly, "Hey, anything you would like to tell me, darling?" Yunduan felt as if he had been caught red-handed. He replied calmly as he withdrew his look. "Nothing. It is just that you are new here, and you can tell me anything if you feel that you are in trouble." Xian blinked and showed a smile. "Sure." Yunduan was startled, as his heart skipped 2 beats forward at this moment. He had thought that she would counter him again, but when he, unexpectedly, heard this word spoken in a sweet girlish voice, he almost did not know what he ought to do. He avoided looking at her out of nervousness and said, "Okay then, I have to go." Xian nodded, trying hard to hold her laughter as she replied in an even sweeter voice. "Okay, take care, darling." Yunduan dashed off as if he were escaping from something. Seeing the way he left, Xian believed that this man was running away in embarrassment. She burst out laughing with a bent back. This man was so funny. Ha ha ha. For one moment, she felt that her mood was elevated. Humming a song, she turned around and continued with her task of sorting her dowries. There were many kinds of things lying around which had been exaggeratingly packed, many of which she had yet to sort out. At around 4 in the afternoon, Xianxia came home from somewhere, covered with mud and grass. Even the straw shoes were filled with dirt. Chapter 12. Sister-in-law robbed, but, despite the dirty look, he had 2 wild roosters in his hands, both alive. Mom. 5th sister-in-law. Look at the wild roosters I have caught. Xianxia smiled brightly, as he raised the wild roosters in his hands, which looked very beautiful with the colorful feathers. Xian, who had been done with dowry sorting, was in the middle of chit-chatting with Ms. Fong whilst babysitting some children. Xian's eyes brightened when she saw that. She praised him constantly with surprise on her face. "Wow, you are so excellent, Qi. You have caught the wild roosters alive." Xian was speaking out of her heart, since it was not something she had seen before. Xiaoqi wasn't so familiar with his 5th sister-in-law, so he gave a small smile as he was praised and said in a bashful voice, "I did not catch it exactly, it was the trap that did the job." Xian continued with her praise and smiled. "That is equally excellent." Ms. Fong was also glad. She said with a bright smile, "That is true. Qi loves traveling into the mountains and often brings us some wild animals. He is so good at it. Oh man, we don't have to kill any roosters tonight for dinner, when we already have these 2. We can spare the 2 roosters at home. Good, this is really good." Xian echoed her words. She again praised Xiaoqi and asked him about how exactly he hunted the animals. They were soon in a heated conversation with each other. As Xian was listening to the tale so carefully, Ms. Fong felt so pleased sitting next to them. Ms. Fong was truly happy. The events did make her feel pleased, for real. Xian was a newly wedded bride, and was supposed to have a family reunion dinner with all the 3 children of the old master in the family. Xian was going to meet the 2nd and the 3rd families for dinner this very night. It was also a welcome dinner for the newly wedding bride. so there would be a lot of food served. When Ms. Fong thought of how she would have had to kill roosters for the second and the third section of the family, she felt her heart aching, since they were all very greedy people. Ms. Fong had originally planned to serve 2 pieces of meat, 1 fried fish and 1 huge bowl of unserved chicken for the reunion dinner tonight, which had been the leftovers from the wedding the day before, when the banquets were filled with dishes. Boxen OVL. COM however, the sisters-in-law of the second and the third section of the family had stolen all of those remainders away, before she could realize. But for the wedding that took place the day before, she would have had a row with them. As she thought that she had to kill the well-fed roosters to serve them this very night, she felt even more distressed. Unfortunately, it was a dinner to show her care to the newly wedded daughter-in-law, so she was going to kill the roosters, no matter how much that would hurt her heart. However, her youngest son caught 2 wild roosters today, instead. These 2 wild roosters looked very well fed, which would save her from killing any more roosters this evening. That was why Ms. Fong felt extremely pleased. After they exchanged a few words, Ms. Fong believed that it was time to get water boiled so as to kill the wild roosters in the kitchen, seeing that the dinner time was approaching. Xiao Xian offered to help, but Ms. Fong turned her down. She spoke a few nice words about her and Xiao Xian dropped the offer. Eventually, Xiao Xian returned to her room and felt bored, thinking that she should not go on like this anymore. She should pick up some skills about making the sauce or anything, so she could kill the time instead of feeling so bored. She was just thinking randomly, when she saw Shao Tao Tao entering. Shao Tao Tao was startled at the sight of her, and then she started to mumble in panic, with her head lowered. 5th sister-in-law. What is wrong, Tao Tao? Xiao Xian walked forward and asked concernedly. Why are your eyes so red? Did you cry? What happened? She had to ask what happened to her sister-in-law, who was in such a mess. Hearing what she asked, Shao Tao Tao felt even worse. She almost burst out in tears. 5th sister-in-law, the silk flower you gave me was robbed away by 2nd sister and 4th sister. I am sorry, 5th sister-in-law, I didn't mean to let it get snatched. Chapter 13. Horrible people. That was the 5th sister-in-law's gift to her. But it was stolen away by her cousin within half a day. Shao Tao Tao was feeling both sad and guilty. 2nd sister and 4th sister? Xiao Xian was startled. She was a concubine's daughter. She had 1 sister who was born by the madam of the family, and 1 younger sister who was born by another concubine. Neither of them were easy to deal with. Hearing what Shao Tao Tao said, she understood mostly what was going on. However, these 2 cousins should belong to the 2nd and the 3rd sections of the family. Moreover, her mother-in-law did not look like someone who was easily bullied, nor did this sister-in-law of hers look like a timid person. What made these 2 cousins so wild? How could they be so unreasonable? It is totally irritating. Shao Tao Tao felt even worse and a little annoyed too. She pursed her lips. Dad is always defending them. He says that even though we come from 3 different sections, we are still one family and we should get on well with each other. We are the eldest of the family and should take care of everyone. Moreover, we should not be so critical about everything. They are family anyway, right? Xiao Xian felt speechless. It seemed that such a thing had happened many times. No wonder those 2 cousins dared to bully Tao Tao without fearing anything. Her mother-in-law might not be an easygoing person, but her father-in-law was the man of the family. So no matter how much her mother-in-law tried to throw temper and have a row, she could do nothing about the father-in-law who was determined and resolute. After venting out her complaints, Shao Tao Tao felt slightly better. She could not help but feel that she was much closer to 5th sister-in-law at this point. She looked up at her and said, I am sorry not to have defended myself for the silk flower, so it was stolen away. I am sorry, 5th sister-in-law. Xiao Xian shook her head quickly and said, It is not your fault. It is they who are terrible. She raised her eyebrows. But my gift should not be stolen away so easily. You go and trick them into our yard, and I will help you to get back the silk flower. She just could not bear the anger that her gift to her sister-in-law was pulled away, especially when her sister-in-law came to share her grievances with tears in her eyes. Boxen OVL. COM. Shao Tao Tao was surprised and sounded hesitant. That doesn't seem right. What if father knows about it? What if? Xiao Xian consoled her. Father is a reasonable person too, right? That is the gift I gave you, and it should not be snatched away by other people. It would sound really unreasonable, right? Obviously, her father-in-law was an honest person, the eldest brother who tried to bear all responsibilities. But she was a member of the eldest section, and now that the people from the second and the third section had developed the habit of stealing and robbing stuff, they would definitely turn to her in the near future. She was not only helping her sister-in-law, but also clearing the path for herself in future life. This was something she was going to get involved in and solve. Hearing her words, Xiao Tao thought for a while and nodded hesitantly. Fifth sister-in-law is right. And it sounds reasonable too. But I am not sure if they will return the silk flower anyway. Xiao Xian smiled. We can talk to them in a nice way, and I believe that they will be able to return the silk flower. Let's have a try anyway, okay? Although Xiao Tao did not believe her words, she truly missed her silk flower, and was angry too. So, with a little conviction, she nodded. Yes, you are right, fifth sister-in-law. I will get them here now. Soon, Xiao Tao came with her cousins Xiao Meiling and Xiao Xiaoji. Xiao Xian turned to them as she was in the yard, smilingly. The girls were startled, and after a while, they realized that this must be the wife whom their cousin had married the day before. Chapter 14. Xiao Xian sees it through. Xiao Xian looked very pretty, and she was the daughter of the county magistrate. The soul at this moment had been changed, so by this point, she looked confident, calm, presenting an air of dignity. Both Xiao Meiling and Xiao Xiaoji instantly showed some fear. Hi, fifth sister-in-law. Greetings. Fifth sister-in-law. Xiao Meiling was 15 years old, an age when girls love to dress up well. She could not help but size up Xiao Xian on the sly. Seeing how she was dressed and what she was wearing, she could not help but show some greed. Same went for Xiao Xiaoji. She couldn't help but think of how her mother talked to her sixth brother about how lucky their fifth brother was, that he ran into the daughter of the county magistrate and saved her. Her mother wished that it was her own son who had gotten involved in the incident. If that had happened, then this fifth sister-in-law would have been sixth sister-in-law on her side. In this way, they would have become rich too, and her own sixth brother would have had a promising future. As she was thinking, Xiao Xiaoji could not help but place her eyes upon the beautiful hairpin on Xiao Xian's head, thinking that if this woman were her own sister-in-law, then she would definitely have been able to ask her for that hairpin in a fair and open way. Suddenly, an idea flashed across her head. She could ask her uncle for help. Uncle would definitely say yes to her request. If her uncle could help her, fifth sister-in-law would definitely have to obey his order, otherwise she would be considered as a woman without filial piety. Xiao Xiaoji could not help but feel cheerful, and involuntarily showed a look of joy. Xiao Xian had been sizing up these two girls, who were too young to hide their inner feelings. So, Xiao Xian had a good idea of what they truly were thinking. Boxen OVL. Suddenly, she felt disgust arising inside her head. On the other hand, she felt lucky that the eldest section of the Shao family was not like this. She replied to them with a smile and said, "You are the two cousins from the second and the third section of the family, aren't you?" Xiao Meiling and Xiao Xiaoji nodded. "Yes, we are." Xiao Xian glanced over their heads. These two cousins were getting on well with each other. Weren't they? Tao's two silk flowers were right on top of their heads, one for each. Xiao Xian took a step forward and removed the silk flowers off their heads and said with a smile, "Aren't these the gifts I gave to Tao? Tao, you are so nice to your cousins, even lending the flowers to your cousins. Tao, I gave the gifts to you, you can let your cousins wear them for a while, but do remember to keep them well, okay? They are my gifts to you." Xiao Tao got so happy and took the silk flowers, nodding with a smiling face. "Thank you, fifth sister-in-law, I will definitely keep the gifts well." She swore that she was not going to wear the silk flowers in front of them. She was going to put them on at her own home, or just in the yard, not when she was out. Xiao Meiling and Xiao Xiaoji were dumbfounded. Only now did they realize what happened. They exchanged a look between themselves, and their faces started to sink. They did not know Xiao Xian well, so they did not dare to do anything to her. But they could show a bad look to Xiao Tao instead. Tao, how can you be like this? Didn't you say that you gave the silk flowers to us as a gift?" "You are a liar, sister. I am going to tell uncle about this." Xiao Xian turned speechless. This justice-filled tone would have generated a misunderstanding towards Tao, if the truth had not been known to her earlier. Xiao Tao's face flushed as she argued. I didn't give them to you as the gift, you took them on your own. Shao Mailing said, but you didn't say no, right? What do you mean by taking them back now? Shao Xiaoji spat out. Bah, you are shameless. Shao Taotao was annoyed. You are the shameless one. However, that was what Shao Mailing had been waiting to hear. Chapter 15. Fifth sister-in-law. That was exactly what Shao Mailing was waiting to hear. She went forward and was about to slap Shao Taotao, while cursing seriously. You damn girl, how dare you curse me? Xiao Xian, who saw that they were at the edge of starting a fight, stopped them instantly and said, What are you doing? Don't hit people, just talk. Shao Mailing, who was both annoyed, ashamed and angry, cried loudly. Ah, fifth sister-in-law is hitting me, she is hitting me. Xiao Xian. This huge chaos was heard by Ms. Fong, who rushed out and snapped. What are you two doing again, Mailing and Xiaoji? Shao Mailing and Shao Xiaoji, who had never taken Ms. Fang's family as someone important since their eldest uncle always spoiled them, got a bit frightened by Ms. Fong at the moment. They understood that Ms. Fong was a fierce lady, who had even gotten into a fight with their mother before. But it was Ms. Fang's merit of being so fierce, otherwise the other members of the family would have stolen everything away from their family. And Ms. Fong and her children might have been fed on grains only. Hearing how her mother-in-law snapped at the cousins, Xiao Xian smiled inwardly and could not help but praise her mother-in-law. Mom, here is how it happened. Xiao Xian took a step forward and recounted the whole story in a brief manner. Ms. Fang's face sank as she asked Shao Taotao, Is this what really happened? Shao Taotao nodded, feeling wronged. Ms. Fong threw a why not do something look at her own daughter and said nothing. What else could she say? Her husband kept defending those annoying family members and she was the only one who dared to talk back to him. Their children did not dare to say a thing at all. That was why after a long while, those cousins found her children to be easy targets to bully. Boxen OVL. COM Ms. Fong would not spoil Shao Mailing and Shao Xiaoji. She looked serious and said, Tao Tao told you that it was not a gift, it was just a loan. What are you making a fuss here for? Just get your mother to buy the stuff you want. You aren't young girls anymore, and you are still so unreasonable. You will have trouble in the future if you continue like this. Stop making a fuss here. Shao Xiaoji shed tears and mumbled in a small tone. You are being partial to third cousin. She gave it to us as a gift. It is her fault. Xiao Xian rolled her eyes inwardly. This girl was turning confounding truth and lies, and blaming Ms. Fong for favoring her own child. But that was her own child. Wasn't it normal that she showed some preference to her? Shao Taotao said, I didn't. You stole them. Ms. Fong got impatient too. Heard that? Taotao didn't give them to you as gifts. Stop bullying her, or I will go to your mother and seek justice, if you are ever found bullying her again. Well, Ms. Fong was feeling very stressful recently, when her youngest son got married this year. Her daughter was 13 years old and they needed to find a suitor for her soon. If she was a person who was easily bullied and could not counter a thing, what would happen to her when she got married in the future? She had to help her a little. Miss Su was not reliable. She was a tricky lady who always dodged trouble and never wanted to offend anybody. She could not even tell who had bullied them either. But her son's wife seemed good. She had just come to the family and knew how to defend Tao Tao. That was why she was going to show her preference clearly. Shao Mailing and Shao Mailing had a guilty look on their faces when they were snapped at by Ms. Fong. Shao Mailing bit her lips, and suddenly, she gave Shao Xiaota's arm a pull and ran away. Shao Taotao became anxious. Mom, second cousin and fourth cousin must be running away to tell second sister-in-law and third sister-in-law about this matter now. Ms. Fong sneered. She can do whatever she likes. I don't care. Chapter 16. Ms. Niu's dislike to Xiao Xian. As for you, keep your back straight. Don't give out your things if you don't want to. Get them back if they dare to rob you of it, or hit them. In this way, they would be scared, otherwise they would get increasingly unreasonable. Also, if you are wronged, tell me, don't just shed tears. The more you cry, the more easily bullied you appear to be. Mom! Xiao Taotao's eyes turned red, as she lowered her head gradually. Miss Fong became both concerned and annoyed. What are you shedding tears for? I am just teaching you what to do. Xiao Xian patted Xiao Taotao's shoulders slightly and consoled her. Mom, Tao Tao is a kind-hearted girl. Much better than those girls. She can rectify her flaw, but gradually. Ms. Fong sighed slightly. She knew that. She had just gotten a bit anxious at that time. She couldn't help but blame her husband, who had messed up everything. Ms. Fong threw a gaze at Xiao Xian with a satisfied look. You are a good girl. You defended Tao Tao. You have to be careful in the future, understand? Got it, Mom. As they were talking, Ms. Niu and Ms. Mang came in with Xiao Meiling and Xiao Xiaoji, looking furious. Ms. Niu, who had just been mocked by Ms. Fong earlier in the morning, was already filled with anger. And at this moment, she was totally thronged with the feeling of deep hatred and grudge. She stepped in the yard and said with a cold smile, Eldest sister-in-law, you are indeed on the air right now, aren't you? You have become so different after you have added a good daughter-in-law to your home. Are you taking yourself as some madam of some mansion? Meiling addresses you respectfully as aunt, but you are bullying her, your own niece? Then she turned to Xiao Xian and let out a sneer. Honestly, I don't care even if you are the daughter of the emperor. Now, you are the daughter-in-law of the Shao family, so you should show respect to your cousins and sisters. It is your first day here and you are already trying to turn cousins against each other and cause trouble. What is your purpose? Are you trying to turn the family members against each other, because you think that you have been demeaned to become a part of our family? Ms. Mang added more words. I totally agree. Your behavior is way over the top. If you don't want to be married to our family, you can just turn away. Our family is not a very high-status family, but we haven't forced you to be part of us. What is your purpose of causing trouble and setting up conspiracies, so that everything suddenly becomes wrong in our family? True. Ms. Niu was so annoyed. She had found Xiao Xian increasingly displeasing to her eye. Boxen OVL. COM her son was studying with Shao Yunduan in Minghua College in the county, but Shao Yunduan made it to the cultivated talent, whilst her own son failed because of bad luck. After that, Shao Yunduan married a rich wife, and with the help of the wife's father, he was going to take off. On the other hand, her son would fall far behind in the family. That was so wrong. Xiao Xian was cursing Ms. Niu as evil inside her heart. This woman might not have any idea of what killing people by stabbing the heart meant, yet that was what Ms. Niu was doing. If her mother-in-law had been a confused woman, she would have been convinced by what she heard just now. She surely would have assumed that whatever Xiao Xian did might be related to this reason. That would make her life difficult here. Luckily, her mother-in-law was a woman with a clear mind. Xiao Xian was no longer anxious anymore. She was the junior member of the family, a newly wedded wife to one of the sons. So, she did not counter Ms. Niu at the moment. Instead, she turned to Ms. Fong with a pitiful look on her face. Ms. Fong squinted at the two women and said, My daughter-in-law knows how to defend her sister-in-law one day after she steps into this family. I am really happy about that. You two don't have to worry about our family affairs. Chapter 17. Not a match with Ms. Fong. Ms. Niu and Ms. Mang threw an angry glare. Ms. Fong smiled again. There is some misunderstanding between the cousins. What are you doing here babbling at my door? Ms. Qiao, tell them what happened? The more they looked down at Xiao Xian, the more Ms. Fong was going to raise her. Ms. Fong had sharp eyes. She could tell that her daughter-in-law was capable of dealing with the situation. She had been on her own for years, and now with a helper next to her, she was not going to give up. Okay, Mom. Xiao Xian nodded with a smile and recounted the incident in just a few words. Ms. Fong sneered in satisfaction. Heard that? Just teach your children well. After all, it is never good to be so intimidating. They are girls, okay? Ms. Mang showed a terrible look on her face. This is nonsense. Xiaoji said it differently. Ms. Niu was more clever than Ms. Mang. She glared at Xiao Tao Tao and said, So it is Tao Tao's fault, isn't it? Tao Tao, you gave out presents and said that your cousins bullied you. That is unreasonable. You are not a little girl anymore. Don't just lie. Tao Tao was angry. That is not true. Now you are countering the elder in the family. Just look at her, elder sister-in-law. You must teach her a good lesson. Shao Miling and Shao Xiaoji followed Ms. Niu's lead and kept saying that Shao Taotao gave them the gifts first before regretting it and calling them robbers. Ms. Mang joined them and kept saying bad words about Shao Taotao. All of them combined forces at this moment. Shao Taotao became so anxious that she almost cried. She did not know how to defend herself but kept insisting that it was not like how they were saying it. "No, I didn't. It is not true." But her words were so weak that she was completely defeated. Even Ms. Fong turned pale with anger. Boxen OVL. Com Chao Xian said, "Tao Tao won't give out those flowers as presents, because they are my gifts to Tao Tao who cherishes them. Also, she likes silk flowers and she would not give them out to anyone else." Ms. Niu sorted, rolled her eyes and said, "The girls won't have lied." Chao Xian retorted, "Tao Tao won't lie either. You weren't present there. Why do you think Tao Tao was lying?" Ms. Fong said coldly, "True, I believe my daughter." Chao Xian added further, "Miling and Xiaoji are not little girls anymore. Why don't they understand that they should not accept the gifts from Tao Tao, when they know that those gifts are from me to her?" Shao Miling countered immediately. "Tao Tao did not say that it was a gift to her." Chao Xian asked her, "Why didn't you ask?" Shao Taotao said, "I did." Shao Miling, Ms. Fong said coldly, "Anything else? Just leave if you don't have anything more to say. You will get no dinner tonight if you keep pestering me. Eat at your own home instead." Both Ms. Niu and Ms. Mang were angry. That was not a reasonable thing to say. Only those who knew how to insist and make a fuss of the matter would be the final winner. But obviously, they could not override Ms. Fong. They neither lost nor won. It was impossible to get back whatever Ms. Fong had taken away. And this Ms. Chao was even more annoying. She was the daughter of the county magistrate, sharp-tongued and not at all well-behaved. Bah! Oh true, she heard from her son that this daughter was just a concubine's daughter whose mother already died. She was not good at all. But she did have 26 sets of dowries. Ms. Niu was really jealous. Chapter 18. Talking sense with them. Ms. Niu said ironically, "You are really sharp-tongued, niece daughter-in-law, so good at talking. But you are a daughter-in-law, so I suggest that you should learn how to behave well. Look at Ms. Su, she is a good example for you. Learn from your sister-in-law." Chao Xian did not care at all. She did not show any anger but stared at Ms. Niu, who seemed annoyed. She smiled. "Thank you, second sister-in-law." Ms. Niu got suffocated. Ms. Mang's eyes rolled as she shouted, "Honestly, niece daughter-in-law, you can't just favor Tao Tao, not us. Shouldn't you be giving Miling and Xiaoji gifts too?" Ms. Niu's eyes brightened too. That was a way to cut in. She snorted sarcastically. "True, niece daughter-in-law, you are not looking down at us and planning to give us nothing, right?" Before Chao Xian could say something, Ms. Fong countered. "Of course not. When Ms. Zhang got married, you gave us no gifts either, right? There is no such rule here at our place, is there?" Most of the rural families were poor, and it was already a big thing for a newly wedded bride to give presents to her husband's family, not to every other family member. No one from other families would come and ask for gifts. Ms. Mang mumbled, feeling unconvinced. "That is different. Ms. Zhang is poor, but you are the daughter of the county magistrate. You should not be stingy." "That is true." Ms. Fong smiled coldly. "But they are both daughters-in-law of the Shao family, and they should do the same thing, shouldn't they? Stop babbling here." These greedy women always thought of tricks to get things for themselves. Ms. Niu and Ms. Mang saw that Ms. Fong were talking fiercely and unreasonably, and that they could get nothing good out of her, so they made a few complaints and left with their daughters. Ms. Fong mumbled, "Damn women." Boxen OVL. Com Shao Taotao let out a sigh of relief and smiled brightly. "You are excellent, Mom, fifth sister-in-law." "You." Ms. Fong poked her forehead. "Just watch carefully and learn from your fifth sister-in-law." Shao Taotao smiled. "I got it, Mom." Chao Xian smiled too. Ms. Fong added, "Just leave them alone. They are always shameless. If they dare to trouble you privately, just come to me." "Okay, mother-in-law." Chao Xian smiled. "If they ever come to me again, I will try and talk sense into them." Ms. Fong understood what she meant by talking sense into them. She laughed and nodded happily. Very good. Ms. Fong turned around and continued to walk into the kitchen, where she saw Ms. Su craning out her neck around the corner of the wall. Ms. Su got startled, but could not hide fast enough when she was found. She forced a smile as she walked out carefully. Mom, I have just come out of the farmyard. Ms. Fong was aware that she had been watching the show standing in the corner for a very long time. She always hid when something happened. Whenever the other family members came to seek trouble, she always hid away, instead of stepping up and offering help. She knew pretty well what she should do. She was an obedient and down-to-earth person, who kept half of their earnings and gave half to her mother-in-law. She and her husband were not capable people, but they did save some money. She only cared for herself, her husband as well as her children, instead of anyone else. Ms. Fong did not want to reveal her secret. She answered briefly and said calmly, "Wash your hands and come to help me in the kitchen." Seeing that her mother-in-law did not blame her, Ms. Su nodded and answered yes. Chapter 19. Unreasonable and wrong ideas. At first, they all assumed that it was the end of this errand. However, when the two families from the second and third sections of the family came around for the dinner, the issue was mentioned once again. Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma kept complaining in front of their eldest uncle, not only about Shao Tao Tao, but also Xiao Xian. They kept insisting that Shao Tao Tao did not show any sisterly love to the cousins and that Xiao Xian was looking down upon them. Shao Meiling and Shao Xiaoji seemed really saddened, sitting next to them. Ms. Fong and Ms. Su were busy at the kitchen, where Shao Tao Tao was giving them a hand. It was only Shao Yunduan, as well as other junior members of the family, who listened to the narrative with a frown and could not interrupt them. Both second uncle and third uncle were also helping their own family members in a seemingly concerned and kind way. The eldest uncle became so guilty that he kept apologizing and started speaking nice words, whilst throwing a look at Xiao Xian and suggesting that she should apologize too. After all, Xiao Xian was his daughter-in-law, and a father-in-law was not in a good position to blame his daughter-in-law directly. Moreover, Xiao Xian was a newly wedded daughter-in-law, and he had no choice but to show her some respect. Xiao Xian understood her father-in-law's hints, but she ignored them deliberately. She truly felt that these people were so morally sick. It was so tiring that her father-in-law could do nothing about it. Eldest uncle became disappointed inwardly and he kept sighing. He was blaming his daughter-in-law inside his heart. Even if she did not understand his hint, she should have heard the complaints. She had looked down upon her sister-in-law and counted the senior members of the family. She should naturally feel ashamed enough to make apologies. What was she thinking? Boxin OVL. COM's second uncle said, "Brother, you should teach your children a lesson. They can't be so unreasonable, right? We are a family." The sixth son of the Shao family could not help but laugh, after holding his words for a while. "Elder uncle, you should ask fifth brother if there is any need to become a scholar, when he can't even teach his wife a good lesson. Saint says that a qualified scholar should be able to rule the family and keep peace in the world, right?" The sixth son could not help but glance at Xiao Xian, getting really annoyed inside his heart. Why had it not been him who had saved this girl? Had he married the daughter of the county magistrate, he would have been assured of a promising future. Damn, his fifth brother kept getting good things happening to him and never thought about sharing the fortune with his brother. If his fifth brother had asked him to keep him company the other day, he might have become the candidate for this girl's husband. His brother married the daughter of the county magistrate. What kind of girl should he marry so that he could override him in the future? Eldest uncle did not understand what the sixth son was implying, but he showed a look of admiration towards this boy. Suddenly, he felt that he could give his son a lesson, even if he could not do anything to his daughter-in-law. Eldest uncle turned to Shao Yunduan and said in a displeased voice, "Your sixth brother is right. Yunduan, we should keep peace in our family. Isn't it good that we live in harmony? Tell your wife to say sorry to second and third sister-in-law. We are all family members, and it is fair if every girl in the family gets the same thing, including Wan." Wan was only 5 years old, the daughter of the second section of the family. Xiao Xian turned to look at Shao Yunduan. Shao Yunduan nodded at his father and gave a consoling look at Xiao Xian, asking gently, "Miss Xiao, can you recount what happened?" Xiao Xian felt that she had been repeating the same thing all the time. But she had no choice but to say the whole thing again. Mom and Tao Tao were both present. You should hear their words, regarding whether I was disrespecting the second and third sister-in-law. I am not bold enough to take over the entire blame. Mom also pointed out that when elder sister-in-law and second sister-in-law first got married to the family, they did not seem to give anyone any presents. So why are you treating me differently? Are you looking down at me, or bullying me, or trying to cause trouble to me in particular? Chapter 20. Ms. Fang's fury eldest uncle was taken aback. So were second uncle and third uncle, as well as everyone else apart from Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma. This Ms. Chao was being so unfriendly to them. Eldest uncle could not utter a single sound. Third uncle had a hot temper. He struck his head and snapped furiously. I am your third uncle, and I can teach you a lesson. What attitude are you holding towards us? We are the senior members of the family. Brother, your daughter-in-law is indeed capable. Isn't she? She doesn't think we are important at all. True. You are a daughter-in-law who doesn't respect senior members of the family. We will file a complaint against you, even when the county magistrate asks about it. Fifth son, what are you staring at? Teach your wife a lesson. Have you read your books in vain? Chao Xian was about to say something when Shao Yunduan shook his head at her slightly. I will get my mother here. Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma both panicked. They were about to stop him when a cry was heard. Chao Xian had just taken out her handkerchief and sobbed. This is so unreasonable of you all. You are senior members, and you are bullying me unfairly. Why can't elder sister-in-law and second sister-in-law do what they want, but not me? Are you all looking down at me? What have I done to irritate you all? Chao Xian turned around and ran into the kitchen. She was not in a position to argue with them, so she went to fetch her mother-in-law instead. Soon Ms. Fong rushed out angrily and snapped at Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma. Shame on you! Have you decided to continue dwelling on this minor thing? My daughter-in-law has just been married to our family, and you, the so-called senior members, are causing her trouble. You better have no daughter-in-law in the future, otherwise I will cause them trouble too. Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma, just tell me, what has Ms. Chao done so that she disrespects you all, only because she is not under your charge? You got your daughters to bully my Tao Tao and my daughter-in-law. Damn you all. Bah. Boxen OVL. COM eldest uncle's face flushed. He felt that he was humiliated facing the newly wedded daughter-in-law and his siblings' family. So he snapped. Just stop it, Ms. Fong. We are all a family. Ms. Fong, who was feeling so angry and annoyed inwardly, mumbled with a sneer. You think we are all a family, but they don't think we are. Otherwise they would not have caused trouble to our daughter-in-law. You! Eldest uncle got both embarrassed and annoyed. He had not expected this to happen. He had thought that when Miss Chao made an apology, the whole thing would just pass. Then nothing like this would have happened. But Miss Chao just did not want to give in. She could adjust her behavior as a junior member. She should not have countered the senior members. The whole family should be in harmony. Ms. Ma argued. You should give gifts to everyone, or you give them to no one. Ms. Chao is just unfair, and we are not to be blamed. True. Ms. Niu added, thinking that Ms. Ma was being clever for the first time as she hit the key point. Ms. Chao only gives presents to Tao Tao and Qing, because she looks differently at us two families and doesn't regard us as her own. Chao Xian blinked. Aren't we already two families? We are not one. Isn't that what second sister-in-law said? Of course I prioritize my own family when I have presents. Since there is none left, no one outside the immediate family would get anything. Chapter 21. Second sister-in-law and dowries. The two families almost choked in anger. Shao Yunduan's reaction almost burst out. He turned around and pretended to cough so as to hold the laughter in. This wife of his seemed like a lot of fun. Eldest uncle's eyes widened as he said, but we are all from the Shao family, we share the same ancestors. Ms. Fong found that Ms. Chao's words were too good. She snorted. You are not talking senses. Half of the people in the village have Shao as their family name and we all share the same ancestor. Should we check with every family? Ms. Chao, you are right, we are in different families, and we are all healthy beings. Why must someone be so greedy? We have never gotten anything from your families. Ms. Niu said. Honestly, sister-in-law, we are not that competent, and we always remember the favor you have done for us. When we become capable in the future, we will be of some help to you too. We are all one family, don't get so estranged. It is so hurtful. Ms. Xiao can say whatever she wants, but we wonder if it is true about what she says, or just that she doesn't want to share her things with Meiling and Xiaoji. We are all sisters. What she has done hurts us. Eldest uncle sighed, and threw a guilty look at Shao Meiling and Shao Xiaoji. He felt the same way, as he complained that Xiao Xian was too stingy as the sister-in-law. Xiao Xian showed a helpless look. I am telling the truth. There is nothing I can do, even if you don't believe me. Ms. Niu became even angrier. She was not convinced inside her heart. She should have asked them to check her dowries. If Xiao Xian had said these words, Ms. Niu would definitely ask Ms. Ma to dig out everything from Xiao Xian's boxes. Moreover, she also wanted to see what those 26 sets of dowries from the county magistrate's family were like. Xiao Xian did not follow her lead, but Ms. Niu could not hold the itch, and said, You have to show us. Xiao Xian turned to her and showed a strange smile. You want to check my dowries? Boxen OVL. COM Ms. Fong became furious. Ms. Niu, what do you mean? Even I, the mother-in-law, have not seen any of her dowries. What do you think you are doing? Dowries were private things. No families who had even a little shame in them would do things like this. Ms. Niu pursed her lips. Don't get me wrong. I just want Ms. Xiao to prove what she said was real. Ms. Fong sneered. I don't care if you don't believe her. There is no need to prove anything. As long as I believe my daughter-in-law, it will do. Xiao Xian smiled. That is fine for me, but I just remember that you haven't given me any gifts either. What about giving presents to me and letting me see your dowries too? You! Ms. Ma got annoyed. What gifts? We don't have such rules in the Shao family. Ms. Fong rolled her eyes. Then shut your mouth. Ms. Niu was about to add something, when Ms. Fong said, So, you don't want to have any dinner tonight, right? Are we done or not? Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma exchanged glances with their husbands and pressed down their anger. They knew that they could do nothing today, so they stopped making the fuss. Eldest uncle had already become very worried, exhausted and embarrassed. He waved at Ms. Fong and said, all right, stop talking and go make dinner. It is getting late. Chapter 22. Guilty Ms. Fong had been used to eldest uncle trying to appease everyone in the past. She simply snorted and felt nothing inside her heart. She was worried that Xiao Xian would get bullied again, so she said to her son, Yunduan, take your wife back to the room. I will tell you when it is time for dinner. Shao Yunduan also did not have any interest in hearing them babbling any further, so he nodded. Okay. Ms. Ma did not seem happy about this. She let out a fake smile. Sister-in-law, you love your daughter-in-law, and don't want her to do anything. Ms. Fong threw a superior look at her. My son is a cultivated talent, and soon he is going to take the village examination. He needs someone to take care of him. Ms. Ma thought of how her own son failed the imperial examination that he had attended with Shao Yunduan. She became angry and glared at her. Both third uncle and sixth son were not looking good either after hearing this. Ms. Fong did not care about how they felt. She turned around and went into the kitchen. Shao Yunduan and Xiao Xian went back to the room as well. The door closed and Xiao Xian let out a sigh of relief. It was quiet in the room. Shao Yunduan looked at her and felt that he should say something. So he thought for a while and asked her, Are you okay? Xiao Xian threw a look back at him and smiled. I am okay. Okay. Shao Yunduan had no idea how to respond to it. He did not know what to say next. Okay, good that you are okay. He paused and added. They are always like this. You can just stay away from them. Don't take what they say to your heart. If they go over the top, tell me or mom. Boxen OVL. COM Shao Yunduan told her all this and gave a complicated look to Xiao Xian. It was really a difficult situation for her right now. Xiao Xian saw how he was behaving and burst out into laughter. She looked at him with her head tilted and teased him. You are feeling a little guilty? Shao Yunduan was startled. He responded in a small voice as he moved away his gaze in an awkward way. I didn't expect that they were going to behave like this. Anyway, stay away from them. Xiao let out an even deeper smile. You are worried that I will be bullied? It was a question, but Yunduan seemed to feel that she was saying that she was not at all scared and that she did not care about his concern. He felt a bit angry inside his heart, and he was about to reply when Xiao nodded and said, Yes, you are right. I will stay away from them. In fact, she had no interest in those people. As long as they did not come to her causing trouble, she would not care about what they were doing. Teasing this man in front of her was a lot of fun. So she turned to him and said with a look of sincerity and expectation, If you are feeling guilty, how do you think that you should compensate me? Shao Yunduan. He felt as if he had been trapped by her. But he wasn't sure about it. The feeling of being both trapped and helpless in front of her arose inside him again. He answered in a muffled voice, when facing her gaze and this hard question. What do you want? Xiao chuckled inwardly, thinking that this man was really so much fun. She inclined her head and thought for a while, smiling. What about taking me to the mountains tomorrow? To the mountains? Shao Yunduan was startled. Her answer was beyond his expectation. She was the daughter of the county magistrate. What was she going to do in the mountains? He could not help but get curious. What are you going to do there? Take a walk. Shao Yunduan. He felt as if he had become an idiot. Chapter 23. Shao Yunduan's denial. Seeing that he was so flummoxed, Xiao held her laughter and added, The mountains must have a good view. I just want to take a walk around for relaxation. Can you come with me? The most important thing was that she was going to study her superpower. After all, there were many plants in the mountains. Could Shao Yunduan say no? Of course not. Moreover, she was blamed for a series of hardships today, and seemed to be so pitiful. I got it. Shao Yunduan nodded and looked at her. Then he gave her a reminder. It is not an easy path to reach the mountain. There are plants with thorns, and the leaves are sharp as knives. Also, there are bugs and insects during this time of the year. You have to be prepared for all these. Oh, that is okay. Xiao laughed. You will always be with me, won't you? Shao Yunduan's heart skipped 2 beats. He suddenly flushed. You. He had intended to tell her not to talk like this, but then he realized that she was right. On this trip to the mountain, he was going to be by her side anyway, wasn't he? She was a noble-born lady who had never been to any wild mountains. If he did not look out for her, she might get messy and totally lost. Therefore, she was simply talking sense. It was just him who had thought it in another way. Good that he stopped himself from telling her the words, otherwise he would get really embarrassed. Shao Yunduan could not stand being by her side right now. This unbelievable woman was going to spill out something even more uncomfortable, wasn't she? He got up and replied stiffly. You stay here, I will take a look outside. Before Xiao could give any response, he turned around and dashed off. Boxen OVL. Xiao covered her face and chuckled, as she saw the door close again. This man was so much fun. He only knew how to read. It seemed that she had developed some feelings towards him. Xiao thought of how he calmly defended her when she was confronted by those annoying families. She suddenly felt that this man was actually very nice. Then she thought deeper. Her mother-in-law was so nice. And so was her sister-in-law. The elder brother, third brother and Chi were nice as well. So was the elder sister-in-law. As for her father-in-law, she could tell that he was a parent who loved to look good on the surface. It was a merit too. In this way, he was definitely not going to do anything shameful, like lecturing his daughter-in-law publicly. Actually, this kind of man was very easy to deal with. For example, when she was speaking so rudely to the 2 women just now, their husbands got so annoyed that their veins popped out. But what her father-in-law did was only to stare at her with a look of accusation, instead of doing anything more than that. This section of the Shao family was really nice. Xiao could not help but smile. The 2 families must have gotten tired of the argument earlier today. So they did not say anything more at dinner. Although they behaved terribly, she decided to tolerate them, thinking that she would not have to spend so much time with them in daily life, as they were in different family sections. The dinner went well. After dinner, The children of the second and the third sections of the family were gone. But second uncle, Ms. Niu, third uncle and Ms. Ma remained there. Ms. Fang said that Shao Yunduan was going to study, so she asked Xiao to keep him company in the room. The elders who stayed back at eldest uncle's home started to chit-chat. They kept mentioning that he should watch out for Xiao because she was going to bring trouble to the family, etc. Eldest uncle became really guilty after hearing those suggestions. He nodded constantly in agreement. Chapter 24. Xiao Xian's joke. Eldest uncle also felt that Xiao Xian wasn't well behaved as a daughter-in-law was supposed to be. Look at Ms. Su. She was honest and diligent. But Xiao Xian did not show any politeness when speaking with the senior members of the family. Instead, she kept countering them. She was the daughter of the county magistrate, true, but she was the Shao family's daughter-in-law. Hence, she needed to be taught well, otherwise she was going to offend many people. They were one family, and everyone should stay in harmony. On their wedding day the night before, when the original host caused such an accident, Shao Yunduan got so annoyed and troubled that he did not care about anything else but fell asleep directly on the bed. But tonight, things were different and had started to go into the normal direction. Well, at least on the surface. The sharp issue of how they were going to spend the night also came up. Shao Yunduan just did not know how to mention this issue. They were a poor farmer's family with only one bed in the room. There were no other places available for sleeping. In the end, Shao Yunduan decided to get some blankets from the wardrobe and sleep on the floor instead. The floor was not paved with wood or bricks, just concrete. The floor was firm but not dry enough to sleep on. Xiao Xian also thought of this issue. But she did not mention it deliberately, and occupied the bed before her husband could. But this man was so honest that he would rather sleep on the wet floor than on the bed. She got both annoyed and amused. Of course she was not going to let him sleep on the floor. It was far too wet and cold. What if he got sick? That would hurt her conscience. What are you doing? Boxen OVL. COM sleeping. Shao Yunduan threw a look at her. Don't worry. I am worried. Xiao Xian replied. The bed is wide. What are you sleeping on the floor for? I will have to take care of you if you are sick. I am strong and I don't fall ill easily. But what if you get sick? Xiao Xian smiled. Oh, are you afraid of me? I am not. Shao Yunduan snapped. This woman was so unreasonable. He wasn't afraid of her. Rather, she should be afraid of him. She had said what he was going to say. He was just thinking for her sake, but she, instead of showing him some care, even told him disdainfully that she would have to take care of him if he got sick. Moreover, she taunted that he was afraid of her. Then come up. Xiao Xian added. We spent the last night together, did we? Shao Yunduan. Yes, they did. So any more times would not make any difference. Shao Yunduan got startled. He did not know how to reply to her. Xiao Xian was amused. This man was so tangled in his own thoughts. Anyway, she was going to help him out. She summoned him and said, Come up and sleep, we are going to the mountains tomorrow. Shao Yunduan's heart skipped 2 more beats. He flushed and almost tripped over. He opened his mouth, thinking that this woman simply did not know how to talk properly. Come up and sleep. That was not something to be said so casually. But it seemed right too. She looked natural and calm in every way. She was just making a statement, rather than meaning anything more than that. But he was the one who kept thinking about strange things. Shao Yunduan knocked at his head, thinking that he must have gone mental. He squinted and saw Xiao Xian staring at him curiously. She had seen how he just behaved. Shao Yunduan became so embarrassed that he wished that he could go deep into the ground and disappear. But he gave up when he had already come to this step. Shao Yunduan coughed and calmed himself, as he walked straight to the bed. But the way he walked made Xiao Xian almost burst into laughter. Chapter 25. Anyway, she wanted the following morning after breakfast, everyone got down to their own business. Shao Yunduan told his mother that he was going to take Xiao Xian for a walk in the mountains. Ms. Fang was very happy. She nodded and said, showing an affable smile, all right, just go and take a walk, but don't go deep into the steep mountains. Take good care of her, so she won't trip or something. His mother looked gratified and satisfied. She even looked as if she understood everything. That made Shao Yunduan feel a bit speechless. He would like to give an explanation but did not know how to make himself look less suspicious. So he gave it up eventually. Anyway, she wanted. As long as she was happy. With a bamboo basket in hand, Xiao Xian was very happy on the way. She hopped around and smiled, looking around and showing admiration as she observed the surroundings with a pair of beautiful eyes. It was the best time of the year, flourishing and full of plants. The landscape in the mountain was really attractive and beautiful. They had walked for more than half an hour, when they came to a forest filled with bamboo and trees. The valleys were large and broad, with gentle hills and trees, flowers blooming around. There was a clear river flowing at the feet of the mountain, with water gurgling and birds chirping from the tree branches. Among the flourishing forest, Xiao Xian suddenly felt a sense of vibrant life, which made her feel rather joyful. It is so beautiful here. Shao Yunduan thought that she made such a sound because she, who was born in a noble family, had never seen such a forest before. Maybe she found it exciting, it being her first time. He found a dry rock and sat down, answering her casually with a single yes. As Xiao Xian was looking around in admiration, she again smiled. There must be many mushrooms at this time of the year. They are always so fresh and tasty. I want to take some home. Boxen OVL. Shao Yunduan threw a look at her, thinking that she had never been to the mountains and knew nothing about what was going on in the woods. So he said patiently, I suggest we do not do that. There are many mushrooms that are poisonous. What if we eat some of them? We will die. Xiao Xian smiled. But I know which kinds we can pick. They should be fresh and safe. She had just made an attempt, and with her superpower, she was able to tell which mushrooms were poisonous, and which were not, including those types that they did not know about. Shao Yunduan did not believe her. He said seriously, I am not joking with you. We shouldn't do that. Xiao Xian pursed her lips. Why not? Let me tell you, I was born to be sensitive towards different plants. My father has many books about geography and everything, and one of them talked about mushrooms. I remember the contents well. I am not going to joke with my life. Shao Yunduan could not think of any way to counter her. He even showed a look of admiration. The study of the county magistrate's home? That sounded really nice. Xiao Xian showed him a smile. He must be very jealous of her for knowing so much about mushrooms. Let's go, I can teach you something about them. Xiao Xian was very generous, as she tugged his sleeves and pulled him forward. She was not going to hide anything. Shao Yunduan looked down at the hand that tugged his sleeves, saying nothing more. Anyway, they might as well do that. There were many mushrooms in the mountains, but it was not very easy to get them. If luck went against them, she might lose interest after a while. But what he did not know was that Xiao Xian always intended to get mushrooms for herself. She placed her hand casually on one leaf of a small tree, concentrated inwardly and looked over with her superpower angle. Chapter 26. No need. She did not stop looking until her superpower sight covered many kilometers. That made Xiao Xian both surprised and happy, because the range was not fixed. She could clearly tell that when her superpower grew stronger, she was able to expand the range. Her superpower could grow, especially when it came to the season in which all matters were growing and everything was flourishing. In this environment, her power grew fast too. So within this visible range, every tree, every piece of grass, every flower, and even every small ant on the grass root as well as the ground became extremely clear in her eyes. Let's go that way. Xiao Xian pointed into one direction with a smile, and took Shao Yunduan there. Shao Yunduan saw that she was so delighted, and decided to follow her lead rather than disappoint her. Soon they found one bunch of grass mushrooms under one tree. The mushroom had gray-brown umbrellas, and the stems were thick, white and tender. Xiao Xian's eyes sparkled as she said, "We are so lucky." Seeing that she was squatting to pick them, Shao Yunduan could not help but respond. "Are they really safe?" "Of course." Xiao Xian took a bite of them. "Look. Hey you." Shao Yunduan had no time to stop her but said, "What are you doing? Spit it now." Xiao Xian spat and said with a smile, "You see, it is safe, right?" Shao Yunduan. He just had no idea how to react. She did not have to make so much effort to prove the point. He shivered and said, "Don't do this again. Pick them if you want, but feed them to the roosters first before trying them yourself, okay?" Boxen OVL. COM. It was not worth dying because of a mushroom. Xiao Xian burst into laughter and nodded. "Okay, whatever you say." Shao Yunduan looked at her and wondered why she did not accept his advice. Xiao Xian waved at him. "Come and help me pick some." Instead of turning her down, Shao Yunduan had no choice but to squat down and pick mushrooms for her. Then the two of them found some wild-growing needle mushrooms in brown-yellow color, red mushrooms in dark red color, as well as several kinds of fragrant shiitake mushrooms, fungus, pine milk mushrooms, and many more. Even several rare porcini mushrooms were picked. But for the basket that was too small to hold everything, they were able to get more. They even found some very fat and big brackens on one hill. They picked one armful of that and tied them into one bunch with a long thatch. Satisfied, Xiao Xian smiled brightly. "This is a big harvest. We are so lucky today." Shao Yunduan smiled with slight delight. He nodded. Yes. In the meanwhile, he was totally amazed. There were many mushrooms in the mountains, but they were never so readily available for him to pick all the time. They were just so lucky. The two of them were just about to head home, when they ran into Shao Xiaoqi and Shao Taotao, who were strolling in the mountains. Fifth brother, fifth sister-in-law. The brother and sister waved at them, running at them joyfully. "Chi Taotao, what a coincidence to run into you too." Xiao Xian's eyes brightened. Shao Xiaoqi scratched her head and smiled. "Yes, I put some traps down in the mountains the day before, so I am here to check to see if I caught anything." "Fifth brother, fifth sister-in-law, you have got so many mushrooms, and even bracken." Xiao Xian smiled. "Those mushrooms are all so tasty, and so are the bracken. We are going to have a feast tonight." Shao Taotao was as worried as her fifth brother. She could not help but ask. "Many mushrooms in the mountains are not safe to eat. What about these?" Chapter 27. One problem, of course. Shao Xiaoqi replied with trust and determination in his voice. Fifth brother would never be wrong. His fifth brother was the cultivated talent, who had learned quite a bit and knew a lot. If he said that the mushrooms were fine, then they were definitely fine. Xiao Xian nodded in agreement and said with a smile, "Qi is right." Shao Taotao showed a look of realization. "That is true." Shao Yunduan. What a blame he had to take. The four of them went home together. As they were talking, Xiao Xian could not help but keep asking Xiaoqi what was happening in the mountains. Shao Xiaoqi felt a bit regretful. "I wasn't so lucky today. I got nothing. I wish I had trapped some wild rabbits, roosters or some other small birds, so that we could eat some meat tonight. This place is too close to the village, and hence, there aren't many wild roosters around. In a couple of days I will go to the Wangqing Mountains, where we are definitely going to get a lot. Few people visit there, so we are definitely going to get many wild animals." He was not only good at setting up traps, but also at shooting arrows. He was good at some kung fu, which was all taught by the deceased Grandpa Zhao. But Grandpa Zhao kept telling him that unless he was defending himself, he should never reveal that he was good at shooting and kung fu. Grandpa also told him not to reveal this secret to anyone in the family. He had no idea why, but Grandpa was very nice to him, so if he made the promise to Grandpa Zhao, he would definitely keep it. Therefore, even though he had made arrows and bows with bamboo, he was not going to do anything like this when he was lingering in the village, fearing that someone would see him. He only showcased his skills when he was deep in the mountains. Xiao Xian was apparently very interested in what she was told. She asked with a smile directly. "It sounds very interesting. Qi, next time you go to Wangqing Mountains, take me with you, okay? And fifth brother too." Boxen OVL. Com. Shao Yunduan frowned slightly as he threw a look at her. So, she had become addicted to walking in the mountains? He could not help but caution them. "It is very dangerous in the deep mountains, Qi Yu." Before he could finish his "you shouldn't go there," Xiao Xian said with a smile, "Are you scared?" "Of course I am not." He was not going to admit even if he was. "Nor am I." Xiao Xian said to Shao Xiaoqi. "Look, your fifth brother wants to join us too." Xianxia got totally happy and he struck his chest. Okay, don't worry, fifth brother and fifth sister-in-law, everything will be fine when I am with you. I won't take you to any dangerous places. Shao Tao cheered and chimed in as well. I want to go with you too. Shao Yunduan. That was another blame he had to take. Anyway, since he could say nothing more, he would just drop the topic here. When mushrooms and brackens were brought home, Ms. Fong spoke highly of Xiao Xian. But she wasn't sure about those mushrooms either. Xiao Xian passionately proved that those mushrooms were fine after feeding them to the roosters. Only then did Ms. Fong get assured. For dinner, they made fried mushrooms, mushroom soup, pickles with spring baboon and bracken. All were very fresh and tasty, and were highly appreciated. They had never expected that the mushrooms could taste so good. There were many mushrooms growing in the mountains. They would serve as very good dishes, if they were well distinguished. Also, though fresh mushrooms could not stay fresh for long, they could be dried and stored, ready to be eaten whenever, throughout the whole year. Therefore the following day, the interested Xiao Xian, together with Xianxia and Shao Tao went into the mountains again. Shao Yunduan had no choice but to follow after. It was another day full of harvest. Within half a day's time, mushrooms, brackens and wild bamboos filled up their hemp bags. It seemed as if those mushrooms did not have to be found, but appeared right in front of their eyes directly. They could find the mushrooms wherever they wanted. Both Xianxia and Shao Tao were cheerful. We are so lucky today. True. Chapter 28. Admiration and delight. Shao Yunduan could not help but nod in agreement. They were indeed very lucky. As the four of them returned home, Ms. Fong and Ms. Su did not suspect the safety of mushrooms as they already witnessed what happened the day before. So they got the dustpans to hold the mushrooms and dried them out on high places. When it came to brackens, they cut off the head and bottom, put them in boiling water before placing them into the clear water, after the brackens were taken home. Those coin-size and finger-size bamboos needed to be peeled. So the women sat together to peel off the shells. As they were busy with all of these, Ms. Niu came to visit them with a look of smile. She was thinking of some plans the moment she walked in. Seeing that Ms. Fong and Xiao Xian were peeling the bamboo, she instantly lost interest and said with a smile, "Oh, these bamboos are too thin to have their shells peeled off. It is so exhausting to do this work. Are you tired?" When she heard that some people of the family came home from the mountains with large bags of things, she just came to see what they had got. But the things in front of her were beyond her anticipation. Ms. Fong threw a look at her and said casually, "That is true, children are just having fun with it." Ms. Niu sounded as if she did not like any of these, but as she saw those peeled white and tender-looking bamboos lying in the basket, she smiled and said, "Qi and Tao are so diligent. I will have some to take home for a taste." But suddenly, a pair of hands stretched out and took away the whole basket instantly. Xiao Xian stood up with a basket and smiled. "Mom, should we also boil bamboo in the water?" Ms. Niu failed to get the basket and turned a bit dumbfounded. She looked so silly as she was frozen in her posture. Ms. Fong laughed and nodded at her. "Yes, but don't do that. You will burn your hands, Ms. Su. You go and do it instead." Ms. Su nodded and took over the basket. She had also been a bit anxious seeing that second sister-in-law was trying to get the basket. That woman was never going to spare any courtesy and would have taken the whole thing away. Boxen OVL. Those bamboos were very tasty, even though they were covered with thick shells. They had spent so much time peeling them and she would feel so bad if second sister-in-law took them away for free. But she did not dare to stop that woman. Luckily, her sister-in-law took action. Ms. Su could not help but admire and feel happy. Ms. Niu got so annoyed that she snorted. "Ms. Chow, you are so stingy. We are a family. Why are you defending your bamboos like this?" Xiao Xian showed an awkward smile and said, "It is so exhausting to peel these bamboos. I am not that generous to share them. Second sister-in-law, if you want to eat them, you can go to the mountains to pick them yourself. It is not that difficult." Xiao Xian was not a stingy person, but she did not want to share her spoils with Ms. Niu, who was snapping at them, simply trying to take advantage of them. "Ms. Niu." Ms. Fong chuckled. "Yes, that is true. They are not expensive things. They are available everywhere in the mountains. Just go and pick them if you want to." There are so many of us in the family. These are only enough for 2 meals. We can't share them, okay? Ms. Niu snorted. Stingy people. She did not care about these no-taste bamboos. She just wanted to take advantage of them. She did not want to continue to care about these bamboos. But she had stepped into the family, and she believed that she needed to say something. Ms. Niu rolled her eyes and suddenly smiled. Miss Chao, tomorrow is your return to bride's home day. Have you got your presents ready? Tell me what you are going to take home. I can help you with some ideas. Chapter 29. Glare. Ms. Fang's smile stiffened and her face sank. She threw a really cold side glance at Ms. Niu. This damn woman. What a bitch. She just picked those words which they did not like to talk about as if she could benefit something out of it. Ms. Fang could not help but feel regretful and nervous. She should have discussed with Chao Xian and Shao Yunduan about the return to Chao Xian's family yesterday, but she forgot about it after having a row with her husband. She really had no idea what she should do about the trip. She started to think carefully and decided to turn to Chao Xian instead. Chao Xian smiled at Ms. Niu. What about you getting 2 hens for me? My father and his wife would definitely love it. In your dreams. My hens are still hatching eggs. They can't possibly be given away as presents. Ms. Niu glared back at her. Chao Xian shrugged and uttered a small "oh" sound. Then why are you asking for the information, if you are not sponsoring it? Ms. Niu again said sinisterly. But you have hens, don't you? You can give some of them to your family, right? But I don't think that hens are enough for the return trip, right? Elder sister-in-law, it is time for you to back up Yunduan and the Shao family. You should never be stingy about this, right, Ms. Chao? Ms. Niu was trying her best to turn the family members against each other. Of course. Ms. Chao is a kind, understanding and family-favored person. We are going to do everything we can for her. Ms. Fang glared at her, feeling both angry and irritated. What was going on? But she did not dare to say anything as she looked at Chao Xian. If she countered Ms. Niu, then she would probably annoy Chao Xian, who might assume that she would overthink her intention. Boxen OVL. COM. Chao Xian smiled at Ms. Fang gratefully. Mom, thank you for your kindness. My father and mother once said that the elder section of the Shao family are kindest of all. For them, just greetings would do. Mom, you don't have to care about this, otherwise I will feel so sorry about your concern. My father and mother will snap at me for causing you trouble if you do too much for me. Officer Chao was a very selfish person with the intention of going upwards. He did not care a thing about Chao Xian. As for Madame Chao, well, she was very happy that Chao Xian had married into a farmer's family. She did not care if she was bringing back any presents. As a matter of fact, Chao Xian had not even thought about returning to her own family. She would rather go back with nothing in her hands. Her family would not help her even when she was in trouble. If that was the case, why should she care about them? Ms. Fang felt warmth attacking her heart. She felt slightly more assured as she responded anxiously. Okay, that is good, that is good. Chao Xian turned to look at Ms. Niu and smiled. Don't stand there, second sister-in-law. Come and help us peel the bamboo. Ms. Fang felt so happy at this moment that she sneered. True, you are so free. Why not come and help us peel the bamboo? Ms. Niu felt quite jealous and showed a false smile. I am not free at all, I need to go home. She was so angry that they had such good luck. How did the Chao family end up being related to them? She could not help but start to complain about her son. Her second son could do nothing, but her fourth son, who she believed to be smart, just did not want to go to school and study. He said that he would reap the harvest rather than go to school, where he felt a headache attacking him. The elder brother was always taking care of his younger brothers and their families. If he had been willing to study, the fifth son of the family would have been squeezed to nowhere by this point. Chapter 30. Shao Yunduan's reaction when Ms. Niu was gone. Ms. Fang could not help but mention the topic about returning to Chao Xian's family on the next day. Chao Xian kept consoling her, telling her that her family did not care for presents, so Ms. Fang really felt assured. By this point, Ms. Fang loved Chao Xian even more. She felt really happy for her. The next morning, Shao Yunduan took Xiao Xian back to her family. There was no wagon in the village, so they spent 21 in borrowing a bullock cart to ride back. Xiao Xian had not prepared any presents. She decided to buy some on the street. She did not want to give away the arrogant roosters and fat hens which she had been feeding for 2 days, let alone the efforts done by Ms. Fong and Ms. Su earlier on them. Ms. Fong decided that they should go to the street to buy some stuff, when she truly could not find anything at home to offer. She gave Xiao Xian 2 liang. That was what she had saved till this point from her private earnings. They just could not save any money openly. The other 2 sections of the family were all staring at the savings. But for Shao Yunduan, who was going to school, she would not have any private money either. Xiao Xian had not intended to take it, but she accepted it when she failed to turn down the kind offer. As they walked into the county, they bought 4 boxes of pastry, 2 jars of rice wine and 2 boxes of tea leaves. Those were very ordinary things and were cheap. Xiao Xian intentionally bought some beautiful wrappings to repack them. Boxen OVL. So, every present looked really amazing and expensive. Shao Yunduan was totally dumbfounded. Seeing her achievement, Xiao Xian could not help but feel that she had taken revenge, when she thought of how Madame Qiao was going to react to that. Before we go there, I have a few words to share with you. Anyway, as long as they arrived at the Qiao family, all the evil inside the mansion would be revealed in front of him. Madame Qiao, her lineal sister, Qiao Wei and her second sister, Qiao Ko as well as concubine Du would definitely laugh and sneer at her. They might even humiliate her as well as her husband, Shao Yunduan. She decided to give Shao Yunduan a warning before he entered the mansion. Shao Yunduan was surprised, but not that surprised after all. He was a cultivated talent and had more knowledge than the others. He clearly understood the conflicts that were bound to exist between the lineal mother and the concubine's children. When Xiao Xian was rescued by him, he had found it to be very strange as to how there could be no maids next to this noble lady when she fell into the water. How did she fall into the water so easily? But he did not delve deep into the reason, when right afterwards, their wedding happened. But hearing what Xiao Xian said, he suddenly felt that everything made sense. No wonder the marriage went on so easily. Madame Qiao was hoping that Xiao Xian could marry a farmer's son. He was a cultivated talent, but there were many talents out there, and Shao Yunduan never believed that he could make it through all the imperial examinations. He might remain as just a cultivated talent for the rest of his life. No wonder Xiao Xian committed suicide on their wedding night. Shao Yunduan suddenly felt sorry for Xiao Xian and threw a sympathetic look at her. She wasn't living an easy life either. We are not going to be received well today, but don't take any of their words to heart. We won't have much communication with them from this day on. We can just get the ceremony done as soon as possible, and can go home soon. Okay. The couple held a very strange conversation, which did not make them look like a newly wedding couple on their way back to the bride's home. The couple came to the back street of the county mansion with gifts in each of their hands. No one was there to greet them at the door, which didn't even open until a long while later. Even the housekeepers and a few aunties were nowhere to be seen, let alone the master. The door was opened, as a lazy sound of second miss and second sir son-in-law are back here. Then the sound disappeared. Chapter 31. Madame Qiao's cold glance. There was no one guiding them on the path. Xiao Xian, even on the trip back to her own family, received ignorance and coldness. Xiao Xian felt calm. All those servants working for Madame Qiao were just servants, who obeyed what Madame Qiao told them to. There was no point in getting angry with them. However, Shao Yunduan next to her noticed her calmness. But he assumed that it was because she was pretending to stay composed and trying to force out a smile whilst feeling so ashamed, humiliated and angry inwardly. Shao Yunduan more or less had an idea of what was going on with Xiao Xian's family, after she had told him about the situation inside the mansion. But only at this moment when he was inside the mansion did he realize that what he knew was too little for him to get a full understanding. They were not like a family to her. They seemed to be regarding her even worse than a stranger. Well, Madame Qiao might not show any passion, but what he had not expected was that Officer Qiao acted the same. Shao Yunduan sneaked a look at Xiao Xian and said in a low voice, "Don't be mad." What? Xiao Xian was surprised. Shao Yunduan did not know how to console people, so he added awkwardly, "Just, don't be upset." Xianxia blinked and realized that he was trying to console her. She showed a smile and her eyes shone. I am not angry or upset. The couple came to the main hall, where only Madame Qiao and Qiao Wei were seen. Xianxia told Shao Yunduan to put down the gifts they had brought with them and greeted the pair of mother and daughter. Madame Qiao glanced at how the couple were dressed and felt very satisfied. She nodded slightly and said, "Take a seat. Old master is busy today, so he will not be meeting you." "Well, you won't mind it, will you, Mr. Shao?" Madame Qiao just could not remember what Shao Yunduan was called. Nor did she have the willingness to call him son-in-law, so she just addressed him by you only. Boxen OVL. She was going to humiliate Xianxia as well as the Shao family. She believed how she treated the Shao family would make Xianxia's life even more miserable. Madame Qiao felt even better when she thought of how Xianxia would be screamed at and lectured by her husband after this, making her shed tears from day to night. That bitch concubine Yen dared to seduce old master. Hence, she decided to stab her heart so that she would not get to rest in peace even when dead. Shao Yunduan threw a gentle look at Madame Qiao and replied with a gesture, shaking his head. Officer father-in-law is a busy man and I am not here to disturb him, so no, I don't mind his absence at all. Madame Qiao was startled. Right after, coldness flashed across her eyes. A busy man? He was just a county magistrate who had no business at all. Shao Yunduan was being ironic, wasn't he? Did he do that on purpose or not? She had thought that this son-in-law was a dumbass, but it seemed that he did know how to talk. Madame Qiao did not show any weakness but smiled. You are a scholar, aren't you? No wonder you know how to talk. Shao Yunduan lowered his head slightly and said, Thank you for your compliment. Qiao Wei sneered. Compliment? He did not deserve any compliment. He was speaking so highly of himself. They were just talking, when Concubine Du and Qiao Ko arrived. Concubine Du did not appear until Madame Qiao showed up first. She always used to compete with Concubine Yen. Madame Qiao had signed a lifetime contract with Concubine Du, so Concubine Du obeyed whatever Madame Qiao said. She liked to flatter Madame Qiao in every possible way. Qiao Ko, the daughter of Concubine Du, was also Qiao Wei's follower. She served her as if she were her maid. During the past few years, the mother and the daughter lived a good life at the mansion. At least they were always well fed and were given a lot of things on the side. So when Madame Qiao held such a deep grudge against Xianxia, that pair of mother and daughter would only show even deeper grudge against Xianxia. Greetings, Madame Qiao. Concubine Du and Qiao Ko greeted Madame Qiao happily and then took the seats opposite Xianxia and Shao Yunduan. Chapter 32. Qiao Ko's smile. Qiao Ko threw a look at Xianxia and then chuckled, as she said with interest. Sister, you are dressed very uniquely. I almost did not recognize you. I seem to have seen you far in the distance a while ago, but I did not dare to speak with you. I just could not believe that was you. I should have greeted you, sister, hee. Hearing what Qiao Ko said, everyone including Qiao Wei, Concubine Du as well as the aunts and maids laughed. Madame Qiao did not dare to laugh loudly, so she just showed a small smile. Shao Yunduan threw a look at Xianxia, feeling both angry and sympathetic. He subconsciously clenched his fists, and suddenly, he felt a thought attacking his head. There was going to be one day, when he was going to make her prosper like never before, so that these people would not demean her in this way. Now that they had made the trip back to her family's home, they did not have to stay and get humiliated here anymore. Shao Yunduan was about to ask for leave, when Xianxia smiled at Qiao Ko and said shyly, It is my biggest luck that I have become the Shao family's daughter-in-law. I am very happy already. But you, my sister, you are beautiful and have a good personality. I believe that you are going to marry some noble family. If that day comes, do try to give me a boost. Qiao Ko was just 1 year younger than Xianxia, and she was old enough to get married. Officer Qiao was transferred to this place from the capital, and he had been seeking for a good official position in the capital these 2 years, so that he could return to the capital after 2 years' seat in the office. In the capital there were a number of noble people and young masters from some princes' families. The Qiao family were not supported by any strong background, but if they tried hard, they might be able to get connected with some marquee families. Also, there were families who were worse than the Qiao family that got connected through marriage with noble families. It was a matter of destiny that could not be stopped in any way. What Xianxia said, hit right on concubine Du and Chao Ko's hearts. Those were nice and auspicious words that everyone loved to hear. Concubine Du and Chao Ko suddenly felt so happy and went into a good mood. They could not help but show a proud smile. Chao Ko became even more proud. She was both arrogant and bashful, as she flushed and let out a light snort. Suddenly, she felt that this sister of hers was better behaved than before. But neither of the women noticed that Madame Chao was displaying a cold look. Boxen OVL. Chao Wei was not as introverted as her mother. She sank her face and threw a cold look at Chao Xian, as she sneered. What do you know about noble families? Just shut up if you know nothing. Both Concubine Du and Chao Ko's smiles stiffened. Concubine Du's face changed as she said quickly, True, Elder Miss is right. Second Miss, please don't make this kind of joke anymore. Chao Wei was the lineal daughter, and her brother was working at the literati house in the capital and the only son of Officer Chao. Madame Chao's own family was not bad either, and she had been spoiling Chao Wei, who had become selfish and dominating and always held a grudge against a lot of people. No one knew that better than concubine Du. Chao Wei was already engaged. Her fiancé was the youngest son of the cousin of Marquis and in the capital. But the Marker family was already separated. Even if they were still a whole family, cousins and brothers were not much connected at all. It was already lucky for the Chao family to have such a marital connection. They were not a real Marquis family, but at least they were a little connected. Now that Chao Xian was saying that Chao Ko would be able to marry someone at a higher position, Chao Wei could not stand that thought. Concubine Du got very frightened when she realized this point. Chapter 33. Madame Chao's irritation. Concubine Du got really frightened as she realized this point. But inwardly, she did have a small hope for that to happen, so she just told Chao Xian not to joke rather than confirm the point. Chao Ko was not as smart as her mother. Hearing what her sister and mother said, she remained unconvinced. Why can't I marry into some noble family? What if someone from the noble family falls for me? Even a narrow-minded person like Chao Xian knew that she was a beautiful girl. Chao Xian smiled and said nothing more. She was just trying to make a small fuss so they could all shut up. If she went over the top, the results would not be as good. She was still a weak person at the moment, and making Madame Chao irritated wasn't an ideal choice for her in this situation now. Madame Chao wasn't very happy as she said calmly, All right, you sisters can have chit-chat somewhere else. Yuzan, lead the son-in-law of the Shao family to have a seat in the hall. Chao Xian smiled. Mother, I need to speak with you alone, please. Is that okay with you? Madame Chao looked at Chao Xian transfixed, and smiled suddenly. Sure. Leave us. Shao Yunduan, who was about to ask Chao Xian to leave, had to drop his intention. He exchanged a look with Chao Xian and left with the maids. When everyone else retired, only Auntie Ling and Chao Wei next to Madame Chao did not move. Madame Chao had always spoiled Chao Wei, so she said nothing about her being present. Chao Wei raised her eyebrows and sneered. You are bolder than before. Since when did you develop the ability of being so good at talking? Just spill it, if you want to have a word with my mother. Chao Xian inhaled and said self-mockingly, I have nothing to fear when I end up being in this situation. You don't have to dwell too many thoughts on me, because it is how I should be. From this moment on, we will go our separate ways. I don't think that I am going to become someone outstanding in the future anymore, so I will just admit that I am nobody. Boxen OVL. Madame Chao sneered. You are smart enough to understand where you stand. She felt both proud and happy, and she suddenly did not seem to feel that Chao Xian was so annoying anymore. Chao Xian, in her eyes, was just like an ant who was no threat to her. She had many other important things to worry about, so from this day on, she did not have to care about this woman anymore. She was not going to become anyone outstanding in her life. She felt very assured when she realized that this girl was going to be deeply trapped in a poor, farmer's family and never get out of it. However, Chao Xian smiled and confessed. I am a worldly person, so I am acting like a worldly girl. Madame Chao, you know pretty well what you have offered as dowry for me, so I am here, asking for the dowry that I deserve to get. What are you talking about? Madame Chao was shocked. Chao Wei was startled as well. Chao Xian said, I want the dowry I deserve. Otherwise, you won't have a peaceful day in my life. Chao Wei sneered. What can you do? Damn, this bitch dared to threaten her mother. How bold she had become. She had turned so brave after she got married. Chao Xian took out the pamphlet from her arms and chuckled. Should I read out what is written in the book? I have nothing to fear when I am just a nobody. Do you believe that I am going to bring the real dowry and what is written in the book to the governmental office for my father to see? How dare you? Madame Chao became really furious. Chapter 34. Humiliation. Chao Xian said nothing. Madame Chao got so angry that she started to breathe heavily, glaring at Chao Xian. Chao Wei got annoyed too and snapped. If you dare to do that, Dad will punish you. Chao Xian smiled and said calmly, So what, elder miss? You. Madame Chao got stuck in words as well. True, so what? The bare feet people were never afraid of those with shoes, and Chao Xian was the former. She was not afraid of losing face, but they were. If she did put forward that to the governmental office, the old master would be absolutely humiliated, so would she. By that time, the old master would blame her for what she had done. Madame Chao clenched her teeth. What do you want? Chao Xian smiled. I told you, I want the real dowry I deserve. Madame Chao, just get the money equal to that, okay? In your dreams. Chao Wei snapped. Shame on you. Madame Chao sank her face and said after a while, You are old master's daughter, and you should get some benefits. 50 liang, and seal the note, no more requirements in the future, otherwise you will be punished. Chao Wei got startled. Mom! Boxen OVL. COM. Madame Chao turned to Chao Wei who shut up and glared at Chao Xian. Chao Xian smiled. That is so little, Madame Chao. I need 500 liang. Chao Wei screamed. You are a robber. Madame Chao also became annoyed and laughed angrily. Who do you think you are, worth 500 liang? 100 liang, or no deal. 400 liang, and nothing less. I am Officer Chao's daughter. 300 liang and that is all. All right then, 300 liang will do. Chao Wei felt as if her heart had broken. Mom, how can you say yes? 300 liang, she isn't worth that much. Madame Chao patted her hands and sneered. Just pretend as if we were buying some things and donating to the temple. As long as she leaves us alone. Chao Wei was not convinced. She glared at Chao Xian, feeling as if a part of her had been ripped off. Well, she was more selfish than her mother anyway. 300 liang was enough to buy a set of excellent jewelry for herself. Soon, Madame Chao asked Auntie Ling to get the money and asked Chao Wei to write the note, showing that Chao Xian got 300 liang from Madame Chao and they were going separate ways from that moment on, without any more blackmailing or demands. Chao Xian also got one note, sealed on it without hesitation. Madame Chao threw a disdainful look at her and put away the note. Just leave, you can have lunch and go, no more visits from this moment on. Chao Wei added and sneered. No more visits. No one likes you here. Don't worry. Chao Xian said inwardly. I wish you could forget me totally. She got up. I will skip lunch. We will be heading back home. It is not close by. Hearing what she said, Madame Chao and Chao Wei felt slightly better thinking that she had married into a poor family. Chao Wei sneered. You aren't staying for lunch. Honestly, we have hens, ducks, fish and other meat. You won't have this much after you step out of the door. No thanks. Chao Xian had no interest in arguing with her over some unnecessary things. She joined Shao Yunduan and together, they left the mansion. In the mansion, Chao Wei was still very unhappy about giving away the 300 liang. Chapter 35. Chao Xian's understanding Madame Chao consoled her with a smile, meaning to console herself as well. It is just 300 liang. She can't live on that amount for the rest of her life. It is worth the while if we are left alone after this. Just take it that we are driving away a beggar. Chao Wei snorted, and let it go. When Chao Xian and Shao Yunduan left the mansion, they could not help but let out a sigh of relief. Chao Xian smiled. Darling, I am sorry that you have to go through this. But don't worry, this is the one and only time. We will never come to this place again. Chao Xian was feeling really guilty, because Xiao Yunduan suffered from this ordeal thanks to her. She had told him a few things before they walked into the mansion, but the reality turned out to be much worse than what she had said. It did not seem to have worked that well for him. Xiao Yunduan was indeed feeling really bad inwardly. But that was mostly because he felt sorry for Chao Xian, who was the so-called daughter of county magistrate on the surface yet who suffered from such discrimination inside the mansion. He even believed that Tao Tao was living a happier life than she had, earlier at her house. They had gotten married and Chao Xian was very compatible with the Shao family these days. She even called his mother Mom passionately, and subconsciously, Xiao Yunduan had already included her into their family. Seeing that she was bullied, he became not only compassionate, but also angry. But she was still trying her best to console him at this moment. Xiao Yunduan felt heat attacking his heart, as he looked at Chao Xian. I will definitely make it to the recommended man next year at the village examination. Chao Xian was confused. What? Why are you saying this now? And the year after that, I will make it to the advanced scholar. What? Boxen OVL. COM at that time, no one is going to look down at you anymore. Chao Xian finally understood what he was saying. Suddenly, she felt a stream of warmth flowing past her heart, as she looked at Xiao Yunduan in astonishment. She had thought that the most Xiao Yunduan would do was not blame her, and might hold some grudges inside. After all, he had been humiliated for no reason. No one would be able to stand that. Moreover, he was a scholar, who cared more about manners than the others. Unexpectedly, however, he was making a promise to console her. This kind of consolation consisted of no sweet words or gentle sentences. Instead it was filled with penetrative strength, just like the sunshine that melted the ice and snow. For some reason, she felt even more confident in this way. She smiled brightly. I am sure you can make it. A man like him deserved to get happiness in his life. He should be given a promising future to become a recommended man and an advanced scholar. Xiao Yunduan showed a rare smile as he nodded. Let's just leave. Okay. Since they were in the county, Chao Xian decided to bring some stuff home. She talked happily with Xiao Yunduan, who wasn't that talkative but gave small responses. Gradually, the grudge they held towards the trip to the Chao mansion was gone. The couple grabbed some food and then, Chao Xian took Xiao Yunduan for shopping. Farmers' families were not rich enough to splurge on spices and seasonings, and they were always fed light-tasted food. 2 or 3 meals might be useful to get a healthy diet, but too many such meals couldn't be tolerated. Chao Xian, who had been used to a well-to-do life, had had enough of such bland food after just 3 days. She was definitely going to buy a lot of seasonings and spices today, before anything else. They were breeding sprouts at home, and after the dragon boat day, they would start to plant the crop. But it seemed that the grains were not enough, so her mother-in-law had tried to cut down the rice for the porridge so as to live more frugally. They would not be completely full until the new grains were harvested. Therefore, Chao Xian decided to buy hundreds of jin of rice and flour respectively. Chapter 36. Presents from my family. After this, she was going to buy some meat and other small things. She had received 300 liang from Madame Chow, and she was going to learn how to make money, so she feared nothing. The things here were not very expensive, so after buying 1 wagon full of stuff, Chao Xian only spent 12 liang. Chao Xian felt so fruitful when she had bought so much. Xiao Yunduan had intended to ask her not to buy things, but when he was reminded that she had always been living a well-to-do life, he allowed her to buy whatever she wanted for herself. He felt a bit guilty, and could not help but ask her to buy things for herself, not for the whole family. Chao Xian said confidently, "But Mom treats me so nicely. Chi Tao and you as well are always kind towards me. We don't have to be so calculative. Anyway, you can repay me when you become successful in the future." Xiao Yunduan, who was naturally terrible at saying things, could not find words to counter her. The two of them came home with a wagon full of stuff, which startled Ms. Fong, Ms. Su as well as Xiao Tao Tao. Ms. Su could not help but feel very joyful inside her heart when she saw the daily necessities. They were living together, so those things were for all of them to share. Her 5th sister-in-law was so generous. But then, She could not help but feel jealous of her. She was not a match against her fifth sister-in-law, who was born in a county magistrate's family. Why did you buy so much? How much did everything cost? Miss Feng asked. Chao Xian smiled. Mom, we barely visit the town. Moreover, these are not so expensive. Just put them away. Boxen OVL. The mother-in-law instantly understood what she meant. Instead of asking anything more, Ms. Feng nodded. Okay, Ms. Su Qi and Tao Tao, come and help. Together with Shao Yunduan and Chao Xian, they carried the stuff inside the room and put them away neatly. When Chao Xian was buying the meat, she just could not help but feel like eating braised rib bone and deep-fried pork. So, she volunteered to make 2 dishes tonight for them. Ms. Feng nodded and agreed, asking Ms. Su and Tao Tao to help her. They were just talking when Ms. Niu, who was holding her grandson in her arms, came with Ms. Ma. The two of them had already started to make a plan the moment they went into the yard. Ms. Ma looked about and said, I heard that you brought home a wagon full of presents from your mother's family. We are a family, so I believe that we should be given some portion as well. I don't think that you should keep the good things all for yourself. I agree. Ms. Niu added. Unless you don't regard us as family. But I don't think that elder brother agrees with it. Ms. Feng had a terrible look on her face and she was about to speak when Chao Xian came there. Chao Xian was on the same side as she was, so she explained. You have misunderstood us, second sister-in-law and third sister-in-law. I bought those things with my own dowry. They are not presents from my mother's family. Chao Xian felt that she had already put it clearly. Those were not presents from her mother's family, but bought by herself. Therefore, no one outside this family would be able to get a portion. Unfortunately, eldest uncle of the Shao family always regarded his brother's families as one, and kept sharing food and stuff with the other sections of the family. As long as the other sections of the family expressed some gratitude, he would feel satisfied. Therefore, during the past few years, it had been natural for the other 2 sections of the families to get stuff from the first section of the family. Hearing what Chao Xian said, Ms. Niu snapped. It is all the same. We are one family. How can you be so cruel seeing us drink porridge whilst you are eating fish and meat? Chapter 37. Pestering Ms. Ma said, That is right. Our elder brother never does anything so selfish. The 2 of them complimented and cooperated with each other, spitting and shouting as if they were definitely going to get what they wanted. Soon, they became increasingly impatient and asked Ms. Su and Chao Xian to get them whatever they wanted instead of wasting their time here, claiming that they had many other things to deal with. Chao Xian turned to look at her mother-in-law. She had already told them that all the things were paid from her dowry, so Miss Feng was not in a position to cut in. She threw a look at Chao Xian, suggesting that she could do whatever she wanted. Chao Xian lowered her head and said, I think that you are well aware that my dowry belongs solely to me, and I have a say in how I deal with it. No one can do anything about it, right? So, you two should just go back to wherever you came from. Miss Feng sneered and chipped in. Miss Chao, don't worry, we are from the countryside, but we have dignity. We don't put our hands in our daughter-in-law's dowry. Okay. Chao Xian blinked her beautiful eyes and nodded with belief. You are right, there is no one so shameless in our family. Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma got so annoyed that their faces twisted. Ms. Feng was alone in the past, and was not in a match against the other women in the family, considering that eldest uncle was always on the family's side. Now Ms. Chao was here, and she was very hard to deal with. Okay, you are so selfish. Oh, but honestly, Ms. Chao, you are counting money for those who are out to sell you. You keep saying things about your dowry, but haven't you noticed that you are buying those things for your husband's family? You are being coaxed to spend all your money. This implicit blame made everyone from the first section of the family turn pale. Ms. Feng bellowed. What are you saying? Mom. Chao Xian laughed. I love spending money for my husband's family. That is not anyone's business. Everyone present. Miss Chao. Ms. Feng was startled. She was so moved that she had no idea what else to say. Boxen OVL. Chao Xian raised her eyebrows. As for people outside my family, I don't care what happens to them. You. Ms. Ma got so annoyed but she only mumbled. But we are a family, How can you be like this? Ms. Feng sneered. We are living in separate homes. Are you too blind to see that every family with many siblings in our village is living like this? Ms. Feng had said those words before, but it never worked. Yet at this moment, she felt that it was nice to say these words out loud. When the eldest man in the family was gone, brothers had started to live in separate homes and were dealing with their own business affairs. They even spent Chinese New Year in a separate way as well. Brothers helped each other when they were in need, but that was all. Brothers could offer help if someone was in need, but it was never done out of selfishness. No families would just come to the others' families as if they were still living together. That was like making themselves turn into a laughingstock in front of the entire village. Those from the second and third sections of the family kept telling others that the first section of the family were working for them as if they were their servants. Those words were nothing to eldest brother who just wanted to keep the brotherhood well and fine, but they were annoying to everyone else from the first section. Ms. Niu sneered and pulled away Ms. Ma. Since you are so cruel, there is nothing we can say or do about it. Also, we are not shameless people. We don't care about your stuff. We can live on our own happily. Chapter 38. Xiao Xian's plan. Ms. Feng snapped at their retreating figures. You should have realized this point earlier. Xiaoqi scratched his head and whispered. Mom, do you think they are going to tell Dad about this? Ms. Feng knocked at his forehead. Who cares? Xiaoqi grimaced and shut up. Xiao Xian smiled. Dad should be a reasonable man. Isn't it natural that I am in charge of my own dowry? Ms. Feng sighed slightly and turned to Xiao Xian, speaking kindly. Miss Qiao, let's just drop what happened today. Don't buy so many things in the future. Keep the money for later use. Xiao Xian smiled. Don't worry, Mom. We can earn money when it is spent. Also, I have got something to discuss with you and my husband. I am thinking about buying some land. What? Both Ms. Feng and Ms. Su were startled. Even Yunduan threw a surprised look at her. Xiao Xian smiled. Let's go to the room and talk. Okay. 4 farmers' families, buying land, building houses and buying bulls were always important things. When Ms. Feng heard that Xiao Xian had such a plan, she completely forgot about Ms. Niu, Ms. Ma and all others. She was totally distracted. After walking around the village 2 days ago, Xiao Xian had already made a good plan. There was a slope of about 10 acres behind the Shao family. Because the soil was shallow and there were many stones, it remained deserted. She planned to buy it so as to cultivate mushrooms, plant fruit trees, some precious medicinal materials such as Gastrodia alata, Panax nodo ginseng, Solomon seals, etc. When it was time to build fences, it could be connected with the yard at home, making it extremely convenient to take care of. That was a place which was an eyesore in other people's eyes. But she was a person with a wood superpower, and it should be a great place for her. Boxen OVL. Her superpower was growing day by day, and the more she used it, the faster it grew. It looked as if she were in the process of cultivating her superpower. If she planted 2 trees for each kind of fruit and expanded the range for 4 or 5 mu, they would always have all kinds of fruits for the rest of their lives. Then she could build some houses for mushrooms, and with the superpower of hers, she could harvest a lot within a short while. As for the rest of the 4 or 5 mu, she could plant Gastrodia alata, Panax nodo ginseng planted there. She could use her superpower to make them grow well. Moreover, she could have a batch of hens in the place that was isolated from the mushroom house and medical field. It would be so wonderful. Apart from the small land in the back of the yard, she planned to buy a patch of valleys and land close to the village. That was a huge land, but she could not afford so much, only 60 mu would do. On that land, she planned to plant China roses and multiflora roses, red and blue flowers, pomegranates, sweet-scented osmanthus, lilies, safflowers, gardenia and other safflowers and aromatic flowers and trees. With that, she could feed 20 to 3 beehives. Red flowers could be used to make lipstick rouge, and the essence of aromatic flowers and trees could be extracted to make perfume. Thanks to the superpower she had, all the work would be so easy for her. As long as she could concentrate, she could keep control of the plants and extract stuff out of them. She was very sensitive to the scent of flowers as well, and making perfumes would not be difficult either. She had tried all of these. She picked some mints from the yard and with almost no effort, she was able to extract 2 portions of very pure mint oils. With this superpower of hers, she was definitely going to live a lovely life and make a fortune. But she was going to keep it a secret from Ms. Feng and Shao Yunduan. They would not believe her words either, even if they were told. So what she said was that she was going to plant some fruit trees in the back of the yard, and the crops would be planted in the mountains. She looked forward to seeing what the harvest would be like. Chapter 39. Never too much. The moment she finished her speech, Ms. Feng and Shao Yunduan exchanged a look with each other, falling into silence. Shao Yunduan threw a sneaky look at her, feeling both helpless and having no idea what to do. He sighed inwardly. Well, it was not her fault. She was a daughter born in a noble family who had no idea about how farmers' families were living. Buying land? That land was all barren. But seeing the sparkle in her eyes as well as the obvious passion, Shao Yunduan just could not help but hold back his intention of refuting her. Ms. Su got a bit anxious as she said with a smile, "Fifth sister-in-law, what are you buying barren land for? It is so difficult to sort and clean up these places, and what grows out of such land is nothing more than beans and peanuts. Why bother wasting the money on the land that doesn't even produce good things? We can just buy some good land with the money." Ms. Su had her own plan. Xiao Xian had the money to buy land, which she was jealous about. But she was happy as well. Even if Xiao Xian bought the land in her own name, they were still one family and Ms. Su and her family should be able to get some profits out of them too. Also, even if they lived separately in the future and may not be able to share much land with the family, Ms. Su and her family would still get some share. No one would complain about getting too much land. Ms. Feng did not think highly of Ms. Su, but she still nodded in agreement. She said with a smile, "That is true, Ms. Qiao, your sister-in-law is right. We can use the money to buy fertile land. The price might be higher, but those wonderful fields produce grains, which is something this barren land would not be able to match." Xiao Xian smiled. "You are right, mom and sister-in-law, but I still want to buy some land first to plant fruit trees and some other things, as well as for breeding some hens. I can buy some watery land later too. Please mom, just say yes." Miss Su did not want to give up, so she insisted. "But sister-in-law, don't blame me for talking too much. You don't know much about the difference between lands. Just listen to what mom says. It is very painstaking to open the barren lands outside the village, and no good things would grow out of that, let alone the land in the back of our yard, where the soil is no thicker than 1 inch and stones are everywhere. Just don't waste any money on either of them." Ms. Feng agreed. Boxen OVL. Com Shao Yunduan suddenly said, "Mom, sister-in-law, if Miss Qiao wants to have a try, what about letting her do that? It doesn't matter what she wants to plant." Ms. Feng accepted her son's words, and after a moment of contemplation, she nodded. Miss Qiao was spending her own money and she could do whatever she wanted. What she as the mother-in-law could do was to make some suggestions rather than make decisions on her behalf. If those fruit trees, peanuts and beans could grow well, then they would be able to get something, which was better than nothing. Ms. Feng nodded and said with a smile, "Since you have made up your mind, then do as you want. Also, remember to write your name on the land contract, and keep the contract well. One more thing, however, we are still living together, so half of the income should be handed out to the big family and you can do whatever you want with the rest, even selling for money. That is a rule applicable to everyone in the family." "I got it, Mom." Xiao Xian smiled and nodded. She could keep her land contracts and be in charge of her own lands. That was already a great thing given to someone who was living in a big family. Many people had no choice but to hand out all she had, before they started to live separately. But must she hand out half of the income? That was something she needed to discuss with them. She was willing to do that, except that she did not want the other sections of the family to take advantage of what she handed out. Ms. Feng smiled and nodded, feeling very satisfied by how Xiao Xian reacted. Her son's wife was a very understanding girl. He was lucky to have a wife like this. Chapter 40. Laughter. When she was done with the discussion of this important matter, Xiao Xian was very happy. She could not wait for even one moment before taking Shao Yunduan to visit the land officer's home. When they needed to do some business with land and sign a land lease, The land officer had to help with all of these. Ms. Su felt a bit disappointed when she saw her mother-in-law nodding at Xianxia's proposal. But she could not do anything about it. She sighed inwardly. Well, that sister-in-law of hers had money, so she could do whatever she wanted with it. She just would not accept any advice of hers. What more could she do about it anyway? Not everything was fair in this world. The Shao family was located in Shaoding village. That was to say, most of the 200 households in the village had the family names of Shao and Ding. The two name families were always united with each other and they never had infights. They took turns in being the land officer for the village. This year, it was the Ding family's turn. Shao Yunduan was the cultivated talent, whilst Xiaoxian was the daughter-in-law of cultivated talent, so they were treated very amicably by land officer Ding. He did not dare offend them so easily. Soon, the process was completed. They got 60 mu barren lands at the border of the village, which cost them 180 liang in total at a price of 3 liang per mu. As for the 13 mu at the back of the Shao family's yard, it was worth even less, namely 26 liang in total at a price of 2 liang per mu. Land officer Ding promised that he would travel to the county to get them the contracts. They spent 206 liang in total, and would need a few more liang in the later process, when they would hire workers to do the cleaning, plowing and so on, as well as for buying seeds for flowers. They even needed some money to build a brick wall in the back of their yard. So in the end, they only had more than 70 liang left out of 300 liang which they originally possessed. It was enough for them to splurge for a long while. Xiaoxian was very happy. She was crying out of surprise inwardly. This was way too cheap. Boxen OVL. COM. After she and Shao Yunduan left Land Officer Ding's home, Land Officer Ding and his wife were laughing loudly. They thought that the young woman was very stupid. That was more than 200 liang which she spent. Enough for a good piece of land of a dozen mu at a price of 7 liang per mu. That would be enough for them to get a lot of grain each year. The whole family would not be able to take in that much for the whole year. But she spent all the money upon barren land. The land officer's wife said, "Well, she is a noble-born lady who knows nothing. What she knows is to spend the money." But why does Yunduan not say anything? He must have studied too much and gotten dull in head. What about Ms. Feng? She is a smart one and even she said nothing about this? Land Officer Ding smiled. She is a noble-born lady. Who dares to say any words countering her? The wife laughed and sneered. True, the Shao family has married and brought back one Buddha who should never be offended. The wife went to share the gossip with others, feeling so amused with the whole thing. Xiaoxian was very happy as she walked into the kitchen. She was going to make bamboo with braised rib bone, braised pork with some mushrooms. Those dishes sounded delicious. The fresh and tender spring bamboo shoots were cut into pieces with a hob. A little soy sauce and a little sugar were added to the blanched pork ribs. They were stirred and turned until they became slightly discolored. The spring bamboo shoots were added when the fragrance spread around. Then they were stirred and fried on high heat, before a little water was added and meat was scooped out of water. The boiled pork belly was cut into thin slices, stirred and fried in a pan with oil. Then the sauce, salt as well as a small amount of washed mushrooms and garlic sprouts were added. The whole thing was fried over high heat until the whole place was filled with its fragrance. A little sugar was added before serving. Finally, the two dishes were served. They looked so nice from all aspects, spreading scent in every corner of the yard. The third son of the Shao family, Shao Xiaoqi as well as Shao Taotao just could not wait to have a taste of them. Miss Su could not help but swallow down her sloba. Those dishes were almost killing her. Her sister-in-law should not be wandering in the kitchen. She was pouring oil as if it were free. Yes, she spent money on buying it, but she should not just be wasting it like this. Chapter 41. Uncle Shao's bad mood. Ms. Feng was feeling a bit concerned too, but soon she remembered that it was Xiaoxian who bought them herself. Hence, she stopped herself from spilling out anything more. She was not going into the kitchen every day anyways. She made these two dishes, together with pickles with brackens as well as woke chives, and the dinner was prepared. Everyone was very active about the dinner. Shao Taotao and Shao Xiaoqi laid the table and put food into their bowls. In the evening, Uncle Shao came home from the field with his two sons and accidentally ran into second uncle. They stopped for a moment and started to chat. The two brothers were just in the middle of a conversation, when second uncle asked the two sons to leave, and soon, third uncle passed by as well. Eldest uncle Shao had not spoken with his younger brothers for a long time, and he was very happy to hear their respectful talks. But soon, the elder uncle felt worse and worse. When he came home and saw Xianxia, the elder uncle felt terrible. He frowned subconsciously. He had intended to say something, but since it was time for dinner, he restrained himself and decided to wait until the food was done. As they were setting the table, the elder uncle could not help but feel like eating when he sensed the smell of meat. But when he saw the two dishes, he started to complain to his wife. "You are wasting materials. There is so much oil." Ms. Fong threw a look at him and was about to say something, when Xianxia added, "Dad, I made the food. It is not Mom's fault. Don't worry. I bought these with my dowry. I want to show my respect to you. Just eat." The elder uncle got stuck with his words, and after a long while, he added, "Yes, it is your dowry, but don't waste money. It is not really how you run the family. This is totally splurging. Have you given some to your second uncle and third uncle?" When the words were spoken, the whole air turned cold. They were not very surprised. In the past, whenever Xiaoqi got some wild animals, the second and the third families would always get a share. So when he got some more animals in the future, Ms. Fong would ask Xiaoqi to sell them to their neighbor, Old Master Yuan, instead of bringing them home, which was better. Boxen OVL. So he only brought home 1 or 2 wild roosters and rabbits to improve the food every now and then. Xiao was startled, and then she said with a smile, "I did not buy a lot of things to be given to others, apart from you, Mom and Dad. We can talk about this next time we get the chance." Eldest uncle was about to add something more, when Ms. Fong said, "Just eat, the food is getting colder. Stop being critical when your daughter-in-law shows your respect." The third son could not stand it anymore. He took one bite of the ribs and exclaimed, showering her with compliments, "The ribs taste so good. You are such a good cook." Shao Junyan and Shao Qing could not stand the temptation anymore either. They wanted to have a taste of the food too. Ms. Fong gave food to her grandson and granddaughter, and asked everyone to enjoy themselves, whilst asking Ms. Su to take care of her 2 babies as well. They were all having a great time. Ms. Su was complaining inwardly. "The meat has so much oil and is well seasoned, of course it is tasty." Eldest uncle. Well, eating was the only thing they could do at the moment. The 2 dishes with meat were not less, and Xiao was not stingy with seasoning, so the bamboos and mushrooms inside tasted extra good as well. Both of the dishes were soon finished. Even the remaining broth was polished off by the third son and Xiaoqi with the rice. Ms. Fong laughed happily. It had been a long time since she felt so good. Chapter 42. Daughter-in-law's dowry. After dinner, Ms. Su and Xiao Taotao helped to clean up the table and wash the dishes, whilst Xiaoqi and the third son went out for some fun. Ms. Fong was looking after Shao Junyan and Shao Qing. Eldest uncle asked Shao Dalong and Shao Yunduan, as well as Xiao Xian and Ms. Fong, to come over. He sighed. "You had an argument with second sister-in-law and third sister-in-law?" He felt really bad hearing what his brothers said to him today. He was so guilty and sad. He was not someone who wanted to get rid of his own brothers. When his daughter-in-law became so rich and ruthless, he felt so bashful and guilty upon hearing what his brothers said to him. This Ms. Chow was so unruly. How could she not respect the elderly people and be so selfish? They were one family and they should take care of each other. Ms. Fong had predicted that her husband would ask them about this. Those brothers were definitely going to report that to their elder brother. "Who said that? I had no argument with them." Eldest uncle said. "Of course yes. Ms. Chow brought something home and she should have shared them with the second and the third section. We are a family and we should not just eat alone. Ms. Chow, you should remember that though we are living in different homes, we are still one family. We are related by blood and we should help each other. We should not be so ruthless. You should get something ready and take them to the second and the third sections and apologize to them too. We should not try to argue with them." Ms. Fong got angry. "What are you talking about, Dad?" Xiao Xian's face turned cold, and her face sank. "I am very glad to share with you what I bought with my dowry, and also with the brothers, but not with those uncles and aunts." "I don't think you are right, Dad. Dad, Ms. Chao is correct. Shao Yunduan added. It is not good when it is spread around. Sixth brother is studying at the school, and if people hear that his parents are using their niece's dowry, he would get a very bad reputation too. Sixth brother is very talented. But for the accident, he would have made it to the imperial examination already. Many people are jealous of him. What if rumors make it worse? That won't happen? Boxen OVL. Of course it can, Dad. Sixth brother can't afford any bad rumors. Shao Yunduan knew clearly what he needed to do to move his father. He barely spoke, but when he did, he would always hit the point. When Shao Yunduan and Chao Xian were getting married, the sixth son returned home for the wedding and now he was at the school again. When Shao Yunduan made it to cultivated talent, he had a different identity, so he did not go to school frequently as before. Instead, he would just exchange knowledge with other cultivated talents regularly every month, when they could hear the lectures from the teachers. So he was still at home, studying by himself. Eldest uncle trusted his son and said, I just mean that, we should not eat everything alone, Ms. Fong said immediately. We never eat things alone. We always share. Instead, they never give us anything. Eldest uncle became speechless. It seemed that his daughter-in-law's dowry did not belong to the shared properties. Ms. Fong was the mother-in-law who did not deal with the dowry, and he as the father-in-law should not interfere either. Elder uncle could not help but sneak a look at Chao Xian, hoping that Chao Xian could express it herself. Chapter 43 Shao Yunduan's Gentleness. As long as Chao Xian expressed herself voluntarily, the matter would be settled. But Chao Xian did nothing. Eldest uncle felt very disappointed inside and sighed. A family should be in harmony, and we should live in peace, and not split hairs. The second and the third section are not living a good life right now, and they have nothing to offer us. They would not hold back, if they really have something to offer. My brothers keep saying that the sixth son is intelligent and he is learned. He is definitely going to have a promising future and he will help us too. Chao Xian looked up at Shao Yunduan subconsciously. But Shao Yunduan did not even move his eyebrows. He seemed to sense her gaze. So he looked up at her. Both of them looked deep into each other's eyes, and Chao Xian got slightly startled. She smiled at him and soon withdrew her look. Shao Yunduan's heart skipped a beat. He was taken aback too, and a look of gentleness flashed across his eyes. Ms. Fong reacted vividly. She snapped. I need their help? I have my own son who is definitely better than him. My son is already a cultivated talent and he is surely going to have a more promising future than him. I don't care about their son. Elder uncle frowned. What are you talking about? Duan and sixth son are different. It is good that my brothers have such kindness. Chao Xian could not stand it anymore. She stood up and said, Dad, Mom, I am feeling tired. I will be off now. Before eldest uncle could say anything, Ms. Fong pressed down her anger and said in a gentle tone, Go and take a break. Duan, keep her company. Shao Yunduan nodded and left with Chao Xian. That is what Dad is like. He is used to being a father for his brothers and sisters. You can simply ignore those terrible words he said to you. Don't take them to your heart. Chao Xian threw a look at Shao Yunduan and smiled. I only listened to Mom's words. Shao Yunduan was amused by what she said. He nodded. Good. Boxen OVL. Chao Xian was not aware of and did not care how the argument went between eldest uncle and Ms. Fong after they left. As long as her father-in-law did not interfere with her dowry, everything else would be easy to deal with. As for his hints as either compliments or blame, she would ignore them all. It was impossible for her to take those hints and act according to them. The following morning, Ms. Fong said to Chao Xian in a staggering tone that they might have to share a few kilos of flour with the other sections of the family. Good girl. I know that it doesn't make you feel good, but your grandparents-in-law stressed to your father-in-law that he should take care of the other brothers and their families before they passed away. He has done more than enough and been used to showing such kindness to them. It is the other brothers' families who are not good enough for us. Your father-in-law listened to their complaints and was sighing for the whole night. Ms. Fong was very happy to stop her husband from being too devoted to the second and the third section of the family. But eldest uncle did not spend a peaceful night and she felt sorry for him in the end. Xian got what she meant. She was okay to share some flour, and she knew that her father-in-law was too old. It was not easy for him to change the habit so fast. She was already very satisfied by what they had achieved this time around. After this instance, the other sections of the family would understand that the advantages were not very easy to grab. They would know more about this gradually. Xian smiled. Mom, you are right. Let's do this. You can have the right to take the call about whatever is happening here. You don't have to tell me anything. The female lead would not be bullied, ever. Chapter 44. Stupid Ms. Fong let out a sigh of relief and smiled with happiness. But I needed to tell you first, that's all. Xian felt moved and replied with a smile. What about Mom asking Dad to deliver the flour to them? You can explain to them that I bought the rice because we are running out of food. I just don't want the family to do the farm work while being hungry. From this moment on, you can ask the sister-in-law to make as much food as possible, without caring about the oil and salt. I have told my husband about buying some land for business. We are definitely going to get better and better. We don't have to be too stingy about this. When the land was opened, Xian had to share the story little by little, since they would not be able to hide the secret for much longer. Ms. Fong understood what she meant. She nodded in realization and said with a smile, No wonder you bought the land. You are going to use them. Her son was the cultivated talent, intelligent and reliable. If the purchase was a bad deal, he would have stopped his wife. Xian smiled. You are so clever, Mom. Ms. Fong laughed. Just do whatever you want. I know what to do. Excellent, Mom. Xian replied with a smile. Soon Ms. Fong got 4 kgs of flour and put it in 2 bags separately. She delivered them to the second and the third section of the family along with eldest uncle. Eldest uncle also believed that he should visit his brothers personally. So he tagged along. The flour which Xian had bought was the best sort of flour, most suitable for pancakes and noodles. 4 kgs was already a lot for them. That was why elder uncle was very happy and he felt so relieved after one sleepless night. He felt that his youngest daughter-in-law was not all that hopeless. It was just that she lacked manners and was too young to understand things around her. He believed that she could be cultivated in the future. Brothers, we are here giving you some flour. Eldest uncle was very happy, as he walked in with a smile. However, what he had not expected was that his brother and his wife were not very happy about it. Boxen OVL. Ms. Nyo took over the bag and snapped. So little. 5th daughter-in-law bought a big wagon of things yesterday. 2nd uncle also snorted. It seems that niece-in-law looks down at us. You are not treating us like a family. Ms. Fong suddenly realized why Xian had asked her husband to come along. Yes, she had been so stupid as not to think of this idea any sooner. It had either been the brothers who came to fetch the things, or she, Ms. Su or Tao Tao went over to deliver the stuff. Her husband had never shown up before this. Ms. Fong stayed silent. She was going to see what her husband was going to say. Eldest uncle's smile disappeared instantly. His body stiffened up. He had not seen the scene where his brother and the wife would express their gratitude towards him. We don't have much food at home. Ms. Chao bought rice. Those small things which she bought were for herself and Duan. Honestly, brother, we are not living separately. Ms. Chao's things are ours too. She is so selfish. You are making excuses. You just don't want to give us any. We don't have any rice either. Brother, share some with us. You can't just watch our children suffer from hunger, right? Elder uncle gasped. He was stuck with words. The words that his daughter-in-law's dowry had been coveted by the uncles and aunts were emerging inside his head. If those things were for sharing, he would definitely share them with the brothers. But those were not part of the public resources. Chapter 45. Heart-poking. Second uncle and Ms. Nyo kept complaining, making eldest uncle flush over in embarrassment. He could not possibly use his daughter-in-law's dowry to support his brothers. Ms. Fong sneered and said, Are you done? Then give it back to me if you find it so little. You are forcing your brother to use his daughter-in-law's dowry to support you? Do you have any conscience or not? Second uncle was startled. Ms. Niu pursed her lips. I think the dowry is just an excuse. Ms. Fong got annoyed. Ms. Niu, do you want me to make a list of what you have forced me to pay all this while? Do we have any savings? We have used all the savings to support you. As a result, we aren't able to afford anything. You are a healthy family and you have fields too. Still, you want my daughter-in-law to support you? Shame on you. Whenever they brought something home, the second and the third section would want to have a portion of that. The second and third section of the family knew pretty well how the first section of the family was doing. Ms. Fong pulled away eldest uncle. What are you doing here? How dare you try to calculate my daughter-in-law's dowry? I will keep my eyes on that. Eldest uncle was pulled away by Ms. Fong. Ms. Niu and second uncle exchanged a look between themselves and did not dare to run after them. Eldest uncle sighed and felt confused. Obviously, he had been poked in the heart by his brother and sister-in-law. That was 4 kgs of excellent flour. And they were complaining about the amount and forcing him to lecture his daughter-in-law. Ms. Fong felt quite happy about this, but she was annoyed too. So she tried to restrain herself. Boxen OVL. She pretended not to have seen anything, but asked eldest uncle to come along to visit the third section of the family. Eldest uncle started to panic. He did not want to join her anymore. He felt very messy in his heart and could not stand the stimulation. What if his third brother and wife were like this too? He would definitely collapse. But Ms. Fong did not want him to retreat at this moment. She forced him to come along after all. Eldest uncle had to follow up. Sure enough, his third brother and wife did the same thing. They were not as sharp-tongued as the second brother and his wife, yet they were basically expressing the same thing. They thought that they had got too little flour. Moreover, Ms. Ma asked him to get Ms. Chao to apologize to her. Eldest uncle felt so heartbroken. He said nothing. He did not even know how he made out of the third section. Everyone found that their father was not in the right mood at breakfast. They exchanged a look between themselves and did not dare to say a thing. Ms. Fong threw a hint at everyone, so they felt assured. After breakfast, eldest uncle took his 2 sons to the field for farm work, and Ms. Fong and Tao Tao were taking care of the infants and making lunch at home. Ms. Su, on the other hand, was plowing the field. Xianxia decided to have a tour around Wangqing Mountains. Otherwise he would have joined his father and brothers too. Yunduan was different. He was devoted to work and sometimes helped with the farm work in the field, when the season was busy. Xiao Xian and Shao Tao Tao wanted to join Xianxia for the tour. So did Yunduan. Ms. Fong was aware that her sons knew what they should and shouldn't do, so she asked them to take good care of Xiao Xian and said nothing more. Wangqing Mountains was a bit far away from Shaoding village, and it took them 3 hours to arrive there. It was a beautiful place with ancient woods growing into the mountains. The temperature was 2 or 3 degrees lower than that in the village, and it was an enormous mountain. It was a good place to set up traps for large beasts, not for small animals like roosters or rabbits, because there were many beasts living in the mountains, and the small ones were eaten up by those big ones. Chapter 46 Updated Space. Xiaoxia was carrying a bow made out of bamboo. Xiao Xian cast her superpower and her sight spread all over as much as 2 kms. It was much bigger than that in the past. Xiao Xian felt absolutely delighted inside her heart. It was a smooth day of hunting, since Xiao Xian chose the right direction and led the way. Soon, Xiaoxia noticed the prey hidden in the flourishing grass. The moment he aimed at the prey, he showed a cold look that startled Xiao Xian. He was still young and had not yet grown up. But he would turn even more lethal as he grew older. Xiao Xian thought of how he learned the hunting skills from a deceased hunter. She could not help but guess that the hunter must have been more than just ordinary. Otherwise, he would not have cultivated a disciple like this. Xiaoxia was very fast in getting the prey. Soon he got 5 wild roosters and 3 rabbits. Actually, Xiao Xian had noticed wild boars and goats as well, but wild boars were too dangerous and wild goats were too fast. Neither were good options for hunting. Therefore, she led them away. When it was time for lunch, they already had 13 wild roosters and 6 wild rabbits. Xiaoxia was extremely happy. I am so lucky to be hunting with you. I had never been so lucky. Everyone was very pleased to get so many wild animals for food. With her superpower, Xian soon found a wild grassland close to the spring. She and Shao Tao Tao killed a really big wild rabbit, and Shao Yunduan as well as Xianxia fetched some wood. In this way, they roasted the wild rabbit for lunch. Xianxia got some wild berries and wrapped them up with large leaves for Xian to eat. Boxen OVL. There were not many wild fruits except for the berries in the mountains during spring. They were growing wildly and the red fruits were as large as a finger, growing all over the trees. They stood out in the bushes, beautiful and tasty. After lunch, Xianxia suggested, "Let's get some mushrooms before going back. It is getting late now." It was more dangerous after lunchtime, and he would not go around randomly when his brother and sister-in-law as well as Tao Tao were with him. Also, they already got plenty of things. They nodded in agreement. Xian was very satisfied by what she had gained from this trip. There were many wild-growing fruit trees, and when she built the fruit yard, she was going to ask him to bring her here and take some home. Then she was going to transplant those fruits with better twigs. Some could be planted directly, such as wild lemons, mulberries, bayberries, etc. She even found a patch of wild-growing watermelons, which were just budding, and which could be transplanted back to their place later. She did not have to worry about killing the bud. They were just picking some mushrooms, when Xian had an idea. She told the rest of the team and headed towards a direction alone. She found 2 Ganodermas. The 2 Ganodermas were growing together, different in height but large in size, almost as big as one basin. The black surface was sparkling with purple light, and the stem looked straight and sturdy. Delighted, Xian bent down. But she was startled the moment she touched them. Suddenly, she had nothing in her hands, but 2 Ganodermas went straight in her space and started to grow. These 2 Ganodermas seemed to get rooted in her space as if they had sensed something. In an instant, Xian could clearly feel that the originally desolate lifeless space had a little more life, and a small clear spring appeared at a speed visible to the naked eye, next to the 2 Ganodermas. The spring was spurting and soon a pool was formed. Chapter 47 Superpower expanded. That trash space was finally going into function mode. The development pleased Xian greatly. In the meanwhile, she found her superpower becoming stronger as well. She was not only able to explore a wider range across plants but also had no difficulty in extracting oil as well as accelerating the growth of plants. What was more, she could use her superpower at her will. Previously, it was impossible for her to achieve fine control, but at this moment it seemed to be possible. For example, if she wanted a leaf to grow by one branch, then this leaf and one branch would do as she ordered, and if she wanted a fruit to grow quickly and ripen, then this one fruit would ripen quickly without affecting others. It was a discovery that surprised Xian. Pleased, Xian decided to take a walk in the mountains when she had nothing else to do. She decided to find better things to feed her space, and when she became rich, she was going to buy excellent ginseng so that she could get unexpected surprises. Xian returned quickly, so the other 2 people did not witness anything. Only Shao Yunduan could tell that Xian seemed to be quite happy. He threw a confused look at her but noticed nothing different. He even assumed that it was because he had felt wrongly. They had got abundant mushrooms and were about to return, when Shao Zioki's eyes brightened. "It is a barking deer." Without informing others, he ran up with his bow. Before Xian and Shao Yunduan realized what was happening, Xianxia was already cheering. "I got it, I got 1 barking deer." "Wow, brother, you are excellent." Shao Tao Tao dashed forward in cheers. Xian smiled. "I agree." The arrow ran through the barking deer, which fell onto the ground. It looked strong and chubby, weighing approximately 2.5 kilograms to 4 kilograms. After they cheered for a while, Xianxia could not help but say, "Fifth brother and fifth sister-in-law, let's bring this barking deer to old Master Yuan's family and ask for a price. He kept asking me if we got anything other than wild roosters and rabbits. I bet that he will buy it. Then we can share the earnings." They believed that such a big barking deer would definitely be shared with the other sections of the family, when brought back. Boxen OVL. However, he had not yet hunted 1 barking deer for long and he would like to have a taste too. Xian smiled. "That works. But you should share the money with Tao Tao, and we don't need it, right?" Shao Yunduan nodded. Yes. But we have wild roosters and rabbits too, right? They are good to eat as well. You should keep the money. They insisted upon not taking the money, and Xiaoqi showed an embarrassed smile and dropped the request. Xiao Xian and Tao Tao were waiting for Shao Yunduan and Shao Xiaoqi in a forest outside the village, when they went to sell the barking deer to the Yuan village. They even had 2 wild roosters and 2 wild rabbits with them. The barking deer was sold at only 21, yet Xiao Xian bought the meat at 15 when half a kilo the other day. Barking deer was fresh and rare, and it should not have been sold at such a low price. But there were no rules in the village. Old Master Yuan must have bargained hard. But Shao Xiaoqi had no choice but to sell that to him. Otherwise the other sections of the family would want to share it when brought back. But Shao Xiaoqi was already very glad to have made a small fortune, since the cost wasn't that high. Unfortunately, Old Master Yuan did not buy wild roosters or rabbits, which would go bad soon when it got too warm. A barking deer was already enough for him. Chapter 48. Back home, Ms. Feng took 40 when out of the 81, and the rest would be shared between Shao Xiaoqi and Shao Tao Tao. Tao Tao accepted the share too. She said happily, "Brother, I can keep your share for you, and you can ask me for money when you need it." They all laughed. Shao Tao Tao pursed her lips and said, "We have had such a big harvest today. Dad is definitely going to ask us to share it with second uncle and third uncle again, sigh. Eldest uncle was nice in everything except for the fact that he kept thinking that he should take care of the other sections of the family. After so many years, the whole family already gave up trying to persuade him. The reason that half of the money earned by each person in the first section of the family should belong to the individual's personal property, and only needed to be handed over to the whole family, was because it was a rule set by Ms. Feng decisively. In this way, some money could still be kept in the family. Eldest uncle, who was a father, would naturally not ignore his children, and Ms. Feng, who was a mother, was considerate of her children, so eldest uncle would not object to this practice. But second uncle and third uncle once said that it was a rule that would spoil the children, and that the money would ruin children's future. But Ms. Feng insisted upon that, and the discussion was dropped. But when Xiao Xian came to the family, she had attacked the second and third sections so that she became such an inspiration for Shao Xiaoqi and Shao Tao Tao. Actually, Xiao Xian was a trigger to the already existent grudge. They had not been pleased by the actions of the second and the third section's behaviors for a long time. Xiao Xian smiled. "That works. You don't have to share everything that you have earned." Shao Tao Tao could not help but say, "Fifth sister-in-law, they would come to flip through our stuff." Xiao Xian's face sank. "We won't allow this to happen again." Shao Zioqi's eyes brightened as he nodded. "Fifth sister-in-law is right." They told the others that they only got 2 wild roosters and 1 rabbit. Then, they hid everything else when they returned home. Boxen OVL. COM. There was almost no secret in the family that could be kept from others. Shao Xiaoqi had a hobby of hunting wild animals, which was known to everyone. Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma had always benefited from this hobby of his, so they kept prying about where Shao Xiaoqi went, every day. As long as Shao Xiaoqi went into the mountain, they would surely come to visit their place. Today was no exception. 2 wild roosters and 1 rabbit. They were definitely going to take them. "Chi, you have hunted a lot today. Look at the fat wild rooster. The wild rabbit looks good too." Xiao Xian's lips pursed. She was not going to allow those greedy people to get even one thing out of the family. But that was not how the first section of the Shao family worked. They had to take it slow. Xiao Xian grabbed the largest wild rooster and said, "Chi, you have done a great job today. We will keep this wild rooster. Second aunt-in-law and third aunt-in-law, you can share the wild rooster and the rabbit." Shao Yunduan smiled. This wife of his was so evil. Shao Xiaoqi was the one who hunted the animal, so it was totally reasonable that they kept the largest wild rooster. After all, they were giving away the wild rabbit that was larger and had much more meat, weren't they? Ms. Niu and Ms. Ma were startled. They could not help but reach out for the rabbit at the same time. "What are you doing? This is mine." Chapter 49. Argument. Second sister-in-law. Sixth son needs to have some supplementary food. Hence the rabbit should be mine. Sixth son is at the school, not at home. You can't bring him out for everything. How dare you try to snatch the rabbit from me? So what? I can deliver it to him tomorrow. It is important that the sixth son studies well. You should leave the rabbit for me. Ms. Fong showed a mocking smile and looked at her daughter-in-law with a satisfied smirk on her face. She left from there with her grandchildren. Shao Yunduan went to study whilst Xiao and Qi left as well. The two women should be left alone to sort the argument between themselves. Later, Tao Tao came to gossip with Xiao, telling her that third aunt-in-law won and took the rabbit away whilst second aunt-in-law wanted to exchange the remaining with the rooster, but got turned down by their mother. Xiao laughed. She had thought that it would be Ms. Niu who would win, but it turned out that Ms. Ma tasted victory instead. They had many wild roosters and rabbits left for dinner, and the remaining ones were hidden in the yard. They were kept in the leaves and maintained in the dungeon, so that the meat could be kept for many days. Wild roosters were never as chubby as home-kept roosters, but they were already quite big. Xiao cooked dinner and made braised chicken soup with mushrooms, which tasted really fresh and delicious. The other one was stirred and fried over a lot of oil, whilst the green garlic sprouts were cut into sections. The wild celery pulled from the mountains was chopped into pieces, and some dried chili peppers were added. Soy sauce, salt, and ginger pieces were put in as well. The taste was strong and fragrant. People just could not stop eating. Then, she cut fresh bamboo shoots into thin slices, and made a light, fresh bamboo shoot soup. She even stirred and fried a vinegary and slightly spicy cabbage. Boxen OVL. The smell went over the room and made people drool. Ms. Su helped her, and was stumped seeing how the seasoning was made. Anyway, it was her dowry that paid for it all, and she could do whatever she wanted. Those were not from the family share, hence she did not care. But Ms. Su could not stop eating at dinner. Shao Sanlang was the happiest. He got so delighted that he spoke highly of his sister-in-law, which made Shao Yunduan remind him that he should eat more and speak less. Shao Sanlang nodded. Yes, I need to hurry up before you eat it all. Shao Yunduan. When eldest uncle heard that the second and the third sections of the family were given some rabbit and rooster, he got very gratified inside his heart as well. They were a family and they should get on well with each other. It was a great, happy dinner. The following day, Xiao started to work. She had already gotten the contract from Land Officer Ding the day before, and after dinner, she narrated what she was planning to do. She was using her own dowry and Ms. Fong, as well as Shao Yunduan supported her. Hence, eldest uncle said nothing even though he did not quite agree. Well, Xiao was not using the family money. She needed some labor if she wanted to open a land. So after breakfast, eldest uncle went to the family land whilst Shao Dalong, Shao Sanlang and Ms. Su as well as Shao Xiaoqi, Shao Taotao went to help Xiao. Shao Yunduan was studying in the room. Xiao felt that she still needed more people, so she asked Shao Dalong to get 3 men who were reliable to come and help. Just tell them to tell others that they are simply helping us. We will offer lunch and 21 for each of them. Don't let them spill the truth. Chapter 50 Ashamed. Since you all are working here, you will get 21 too. Brothers, you work so hard, I will pay you 10 more, but please work carefully. Don't tell others. Weeds, tree roots, larger stones, and other scattered rubbish on this piece of land needed to be cleaned up. Once a fence was built, trees could be planted and mushrooms could be grown. Everyone was startled when they heard what Xiao said. Ms. Su smiled. Fifth sister-in-law, this seems very nice, but do I get paid too? Ms. Su. Shao Dalong glanced at his wife and said, Fifth sister-in-law, we are one family and we don't need to pay each other. Yes. Shao Sanlang smiled as well. You have bought us so much food and it is enough for us to get fully fed every time. You can cook for us more instead. Everyone laughed and agreed. Ms. Su felt ashamed. Was she being very greedy? They were humiliating her. Xiao chuckled and said, Those are 2 different things. This is my private work which will last for a long time. I can't let you work for free. We should count the bill even if we are a family. Me and my husband don't do housework. It is you all who have taken over it, right? Shao Sanlang was very open-minded, and he could either be paid or remain unpaid. Shao Dalong was very honest and bad at talking, so he nodded and insisted that he should just take 21, no more. Xiao Xian thought for a while and nodded with a smile. Seeing that they got 10 when less, Miss Su felt her heart ache. She threw a dark look at Shao Dalong, thinking that he was so dull. But she did not dare to say anything more. Xiao Xian explained the whole thing to them and asked them not to reveal the truth to anyone else. Boxen OVL. She was worried that the second and the third sections of the family would get someone here to work and get money from them and add nuisance. Shao Dalong realized what was going on. He nodded and said that he was not going to tell anyone else about it. So did everyone else present. That was indeed how those people would behave. Xiao Xian returned when she was done with her work. She helped Ms. Fong to look after the children whilst Ms. Fong was busy with some housework. She was not very familiar with the house, and Ms. Fong was very good at doing the work, so Ms. Fong did not let Xiao Xian do the housework either, which made her life leisurely. Xiao Xian told Ms. Fong about the payment. Ms. Fong first told her not to do that, but after hearing her point of view, she nodded and said, "You are right. This is good. They won't complain in the future. But don't let your father learn about it." That was exactly what Xiao Xian was waiting for. She nodded and smiled. "Mom, we are all a good family and Noon will complain. I just think that we can't let them work for free. After all, it is my private work." Ms. Fong smiled. "You are such a nice girl who takes everything into consideration." You're tuning in to the Wisdom Diary YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.